We'll give a 60-second warning. It's 9:29 and we'll start at 9:30. Okay, that was a quick 60 seconds, but the clock says 9:30, and so we will call the August 16th Volusia County Council meeting to order at 9:30. We will start, as always, with an invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. In a minute, I will ask you to stand if you care to, and just remind anyone in the public, but that if you're a member of a faith group who would like to participate in the invocation, just send an email to kgreen@volusia.org, and she will tell you how to do it, and we'll get you signed up. This morning, we have Pastor Brad Gwartney from the Stetson Baptist Church here in DeLand, who will be coming to offer an invocation. So if you would care to stand, please stand, and just remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
First, thank you for the opportunity, and really appreciate the work you do on behalf of our church. And so if you will, let's pray together. Father God, today is so much work is to be done. We pause for a moment to give you thanks. The Bible refers to you as the great healer, and so many around us are suffering from physical ailments. I pray that you'd comfort them and provide a healing according to your will. The Bible also calls you the great provider. So I pray for those who have needs, that you'd use all of us to meet those needs. The scripture also refers to you as the wonderful counselor. God, I pray that you provide insight today, so all the work that is done with great care and wisdom. Finally, God, thank you that you are for our county, that you're for our community, you're for our families, and God, you are for us individually. God, what happens in this room today is important, and I pray for courage to make difficult decisions, and patience and the grace necessary to handle disagreements honorably. Lord, we ask that you'd heal our land, draw us into an ever-deepening relationship with you, a more meaningful relationship. And God, may we honor you in everything we do. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Attention. Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will begin our meeting with public participation, as is our habit. Okay. We'll begin our meeting with the roll call to see if anybody's here. Carissa?
Dr. Lowry.
Here.
Miss Post. Here. Mr. Robbins. Miss Wheeler. Miss Gertman.
Here.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Brower.
Here. Now we will start our meeting with public participation, and I will just call your name in order that they were turned in here. You just come up to the laptop here. Make sure, pull the microphone down. We want to hear what you say. There will be a timer on the laptop for 3 minutes. There's a timer above me on the screen for 3 minutes. There's no hook or anything to pull you out, but a lot of people want to speak, so I just ask that you be courteous to them and take your 3 minutes. First, we have Karen Delisle. And if you would just tell us where you're from. You don't need to give your entire address, but just city where you're from.
Good morning. My name is Karen Delisle, and I live in Ormond Beach. I am not here as co-chair of Faith's Affordable Housing Committee or as a member of Our Lady of Lourdes, but rather as the taxpayer who lives on the parcel 31371000276. According to Volusia County School Homeless Liaison, there are currently 2,800 homeless Volusia County students. That is up from 2,465 students just 6 months ago. Homeless is defined as, quote, children and youth who are living in cars, parks, or public spaces not designed for or ordinarily used as regular sleeping accommodations for human beings. I believe that as county council members, you too are all parents or even grandparents. Can you imagine living in your car with your child or children overnight? Night after night, dealing with inclement weather, insects, lack of bathroom facilities, and having to move as directed by law enforcement officers. What if you or your child is ill? How rested will either of you be to start a new day? This council has the means to address and remedy this situation via an allotment from federal COVID relief funds. I have attended the county affordable housing webinars, attended the Housing Summit in December, and served on an affinity group for affordable housing. I endorse establishing an affordable housing trust fund with $2.5 million from the federal COVID relief plan with $1 million annually investment going forward. Having an affordable housing trust fund attracts affordable housing developers. Ability Housing in Jacksonville has expressed interest in developing Volusia County once a trust fund is in place. That is the key ingredient, they tell us. A quote from them is, "We have affordable housing developments in Jacksonville and Orlando. We want Daytona Beach." She made the hand gesture of this, Jacksonville, Orlando, Volusia County. They want in on the I-95 to I-4 corridor. I want our neighbors in need to thrive and live in it as contributing members of our community. This is our community, and I'm asking for your support. Children are our most valuable asset. Represent them. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Richardson.
Morning, Council. My name is Paul Richardson of the Land. On August 10th, the feds released a report showing current inflation at an eye-watering 8.5%, with food prices at 13.1% year over year. So in response to this incredible numbers, Democrats decide to hire an unbelievable 87,000 IRS agents at $8 billion. This will make the IRS larger than the Pentagon, State Department, FBI, and Border Patrol combined. What on God's green earth does this have anything to do with inflation? Those that passed the tax and spend bill swear to anyone that is wanting to hear them that this new army of IRS agents won't go after the poor. However, according to a CBS report posted March 9th of this year, the poor are more than 5 times as likely to get audited. In fact, CBS notes that more IRS agents might result in more audits for pretty much everyone. I have sent a link to every council member to the story if they wish to read it themselves. The point is, nothing in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act will reduce inflation. The tax and spend bill, pure and simple. There's nothing in there that helps the working and the poor. Truth be told, the National Republican Party isn't much better. Their response is to decrease the rate of increase in the spending. That is just step 1 and 10 to the path to reduce inflation. Unfortunately for local governments like yourselves, you are often mandated to spend on programs started by the federal and state that you possibly think Volusia County doesn't need or want. On top of that, you have to have a balanced budget and a 5% surplus. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. While this is good policy all governments should do, Both the federal government and the state of Florida doesn't have to abide by these same rules. While you lose sleep trying to balance it all, others are laughing at your expense. This is why I would never run for office ever again. I do not envy your job. That said, I renew my call for Volusia County to look into accepting cryptocurrency as a form of payment. Instead of taking crypto directly, create a quasi-public corporation to create and exchange a unique crypto coin for Volusia County. You can now allow other Volusia County governments and businesses to take part in the service as well. You will want to go the quasi-public corporation route, since a private corporation could stop serving you or individuals for whatever reason. Again, this is just an idea, suggestion to look into. And like I said, the 87,000 IRS agents is not going to help inflation. Thank you for your time.
Jason Lademan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the council. I'm Jason Lademan, and I'm the president of the Volusia EMS Union, IAP Local 77. Following up from the council discussion during closing comments on August 2nd, I come before you this morning to highlight a few important points on employee pay and the impacts that pay has on our ability to staff enough ambulances to provide a high level of service to our community. We are experiencing a time when workplaces across the country are raising wages to reflect both the will of the voters and the rising cost of just living life. On top of that, our employees, and specifically our paramedics, are in extremely high demand in both public safety and in healthcare. Since January 1st of last year, Volusia County EMS has lost 47 full-time paramedics. To put that in perspective, we only have about 95 budgeted paramedic positions. It takes months of training, and it costs even more money in overtime to fill the vacancy that results each time we lose a paramedic. Area fire departments and area hospitals have been and continue to be the highest competition for our employees. Fire departments offer much better physical working conditions and the same or even higher pay, while area hospitals offer far less physically demanding working conditions with opportunities for night shift and weekend differentials and extra shift bonuses. Even worse, hospitals have realized that the nursing shortage is not going away, and they are now paying for paramedics to go to nursing school. It's a tough situation, there's no doubt about it, but we have to remain competitive. We have to retain our employees. We owe it to your constituents. Let's hold on to that experience. Let's hold on to that institutional knowledge. Let's save the money that we're spending on turnover. And we can work on this by developing a compensation package that gives our agency a leading edge. Give us something to brag about. Not only that, let's fix a few problems at the same time. It's extremely taxing to work night shift. For night shift takes a toll on you and your family on your days on and on your days off. Given the opportunity to avoid it, why would you bother to work night shift if it pays the same? In the same way, there's currently no added benefit for our employees assigned to interfacility transfer ambulances to offset the high liability stresses of hospital-to-hospital transfers of critical patients. We need a compensation package that addresses these challenges. Our starting EMTs currently make $28,000 a year after taxes and benefits. Our paramedics are constantly being recruited by other area employers. We don't have enough ambulances staffed as it is, and we need the county to take action to help us retain employees and to ultimately help us staff additional ambulances. The best recruitment tool is retention. My members are extremely committed to the people they serve, and we need the county to be just as committed to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Douglas Fox?
Good morning. My name is Douglas Fox. I live in Daytona Beach in Zone 4, which is supposed to be Heather Post Zone. But I've tried calling her on numerous occasions, and she doesn't respond to me, which is par for the course for Republicans, because you guys don't represent your constituents, you represent yourselves. I am here to speak about nonpartisan voting, which is an oxymoron. You all are Republicans and Democrats. You need to run as Republicans and Democrats so that we know when we vote who is a Republican and who is a Democrat. I got my mail-in ballot a few weeks ago when I saw the 4 names for Zone 4, and I knew that some of the some of them were Republicans, and I assumed that all four were. So I did not vote for anybody. I'm a Democrat. I've not always been a Democrat. I voted for Republicans from 1978 to 1998. And then when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton, I became a Democrat. Democrats care about people. They try not to get people hurt. Republicans do all kinds of things that get people hurt. And I'm sick of it. I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Florida, where I also took classes in economics, calculus, statistics, sociology, and psychology, and I also studied the Constitution. And I know more about the Constitution and the law than pretty much every Republican in this country, because you Republicans don't understand the law and you don't understand the Constitution. The reason why people need to know who's running as a Republican or a Democrat, judges, you council members, everybody who runs in an election, we need to know who's a Republican and a Democrat so we can know whether or not to vote for you or to retain you. I found out a few weeks ago that all 7 judges on the state Supreme Court are Republicans. But can we know that? No, not unless we go on the internet. So we need get rid of nonpartisan voting. I wrote a letter to the editor a few years ago to the News Journal about guns and how an increase in guns was going to result in a lot more people getting shot, including cops. It came true. I also wrote a letter to the editor a few years ago, which was titled, "Are we 50 United States or 50 little countries?" Once again, this year it has come true. We are 50 little countries, thanks to the Supreme Court. Also, the Supreme Court has given us the finality of the Civil War, which was give the states rights. And sure enough, now they got them. I am concerned about fascism in this state and fascism in this country in 2025. Ron DeSantis thinks he controls everything in this state. Once again, I'm calling for getting rid of nonpartisan voting because we need to know who the Republicans and Democrats are. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I might make a comment, just since I was specifically
Yes.
noticed, I just wanted to make sure that the public understands, and certainly you understand, that 4 months ago I fell down a flight of stairs, so I have been, I'm only coming into council meetings, and I'm really, really trying to get back in. So I apologize to anyone over the last 4 months if I have not been, no comment needed, but I apologize to anyone if I haven't been super, super responsive, but I certainly have been working very hard from the sofa. I completely agree, both political parties, after 2 terms in office, both political parties are disgusting.
Wendell De La Rosa.
Good morning, Wendell De La Rosa, Volusia County, Florida. I'm going to have to segue onto the gentleman's comment because I'm a Republican, but I came to talk about, I'm going to talk about this stuff real quick. I got 3 minutes. My stuff will only take about 10 seconds. You guys should have in your email queue an email about a parcel I was going to buy on 15th Street in Orange City. I put in a proxy bid for 3.5 times the value of the property, plus the $2,100 in county fees it had against it. Unfortunately, my $17,000 bid did not get that property for me to donate to the Halifax League, the property folks that were here on the 19th of July's meeting. So that property sold for $18,100. Notified the county manager, Mr. Irvin, and Mr. Dyer. I didn't give you the courtesy, so that's my mistake. So I'll close the loop there with that. So I wanted to set the record that that property was not purchased by me and will not be given to the county for affordable housing because I didn't get it. I put in a 3.5 times bid, was outbid. That's the way America works. And then I got 1 minute and 40 seconds left. I could walk away, but I can't do that. That's just me. It's my personality, I think. Yeah, I'd put my GED against an alleged PhD, but I actually do have a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in military studies. The Constitution kind of directs the powers to the state, and somebody maybe need to use Google a little more to figure that out. And maybe somebody could use Google to look up people's names, council members, people running for politics, and they can see if they're a registered Republican, Independent, Democrat, etc. It's a little thing. It's called Google. You can put an individual's name in there. You can look at their voting record. You can look at everything. It's called transparency. It's out there in this internet world of instant information at our fingertips. I challenge the gentleman that just spoke before me to use his brain power to use Google, and it might get him somewhere. But thank you.
Darlene Gillett?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Darlene Gillette. You're close.
sorry.
That's okay. My name is Darlene Gillette. I'm the president of the Cat 6 Hurricane Rescue Partners, and we're located in Ormond Beach. And Jeanette Tenney and I run the rescue. We are a 501c3 nonprofit cat rescue. We're based in Ormond Beach, and we do our adoptions out of the Petco on Granada. We take in abandoned, unwanted, discarded, and abused cats and kittens, provide them with vetting and whatever they need to get them adopted into loving homes. Since our inception in 2019, our little rescue has adopted out well over 150 cats and kittens. I wanted to voice our concerns about the committee's agreement to increase spay and neuter fees. The Volusia County Ordinance 2022-12, Chapter 14, Animals, Paragraph C. Cat 6 Hurricane Rescue and a lot other rescues in Volusia County utilize VCAS to spay and neuter and provide shots and other services that enable us to adopt out our cats and kittens. We spend a lot of our own money to pay for these services, as most rescues, including mine, have very limited funds and resources. When we adopt out our cat, a kitten or a cat, the animal has been fully vetted, including spay and neuter, a rabies shot, microchip provided by VCAS, and Cat 6 pays for, my rescue pays for 2 distemper shots, several dewormings with medications, flea treatments, and other medications that the animal might need. Our adoption fees range from $50 for cats and $80 for kittens. Our fees are comparable with other rescues. With the new fee schedule of $50 for spay and neuter of a cat or kitten and $10 for a rabies shot, our adoption fees will need to increase significantly. The new VCAS fees are making it cost prohibitive for rescues to continue. I understand that everything is going up in price, but it feels like rescues are being penalized for trying to rescue and adopt out animals. I would suggest to the committee to look at the new fee schedule, realizing that it will ultimately run rescues such as mine and grant 501c3 nonprofit rescues special pricing. 501c3 rescues can be kept on file at VCAS so that when services are provided, special reduced pricing can be assessed. I hope the committee will take my concerns under advisement. We would like to continue to have these animals fixed and placed into loving homes. Special pricing for rescues will greatly help all of us continue our mission of rescue, foster, and adopt. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Stacy Cantu.
Stacy Cantu, Daytona Beach Commissioner, Zone 4. Good morning, Chair, County Council. I'm here today regarding your last County Council meeting. Daytona Beach DTS facility was brought up by the chair and was indicated that Daytona Beach could flip a valve at any time for toilet to tap. This information is false. So the information is false. We offer tours to the DTS facility, and I can honestly say you never signed up. I'm going to give a little bit of history. In October 2018, the Utilities Department began a 24-month proof of concept research study called the Demonstration Testing System, DTS. The purpose of the study was to determine if the city's reused water could be treated as national and state drinking water standards. The study was done for research purposes only to see if existing technology works to treat reuse quality wastewater to drinking water standards. There was no intention and is not now any intention to make any kind of connection to the city's potable water system. There is not and has never been a physical connection between the DTS system and the city's potable water system. In addition to above, there is no current provision in the framework to utilize public access reused water as a source of water for drinking water treatment. The DTS equipment that the city used for the study had a capacity to treat 200,000 gallons a day. That is less than 1.5% of the potable water needs in the city. For comparison, the city's water treatment plant currently has an average daily flow of 13.5 million gallons and a maximum daily flow of 14.6 million. The study was paused for a period of time during 2020 for COVID, but in the 24-month test was completed in October 2021. At the end of the testing period, the city ceased operations and the equipment used for the study has not been used since that time. The final report on the results of the study is being prepared by the design consultant, which we anticipate the report being completed later this year. As stated above, the equipment used in the study had no physical connection to the city's water treatment plant or distribution center and was never intended to. The entire operation was conducted at the city's Daytona Beach West Side Regional Water Facility. The equipment used for the study is currently not in use, and there are no plans to incorporate the equipment into the water treatment process in the city of Daytona Beach. The facility does not have the capacity and is not large enough to meet the demand water, and it is misinformation to suggest that facility could be automatically thrust into operation with the flip of a valve. Mr. Chair, next time you would like information, please email me or call me. Matter of fact, our staff we have great staff that could answer any questions.
Your time is up.
And I'm not asking you any questions. This was my time. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. Catherine Pebbles. Catherine, is it Peebles or Pebbles? Catherine Peebles, you're next.
Hello, everyone. I appreciate your time. Thank you, council members, for hearing me. I'm not a really good speaker. I'm here. My name's Kathy Peebles. I live at our Lakeside Village Mobile Home Park in DeLand. I'm representing our trailer park. I don't know if you folks know it, but our rent has just went up tremendously. My rent started at $360 last year. It has now went up to $550. The new owners that bought our property, they live in Illinois. We sent a letter to them to meet with them. They won't meet with us. They won't talk with us. They had 30 days to meet with us to tell us why this $190 increase on a 55-plus park. Most of our residents there bring in $500 to $700 a month. Now I hear this company that bought our park has now bought 60 parks. They've raised the rent up a couple $100 on all of them. Then in January, they're going to raise it up again, where our park is going to be $800 a month. We had people screaming, crying, that have been in this park forever, a really long time. I don't know if you folks know this, but we are hurting the 55-plus park. It's like we have been left out of this equation. I can't sell my place to anybody that has kids. When I have people calling me all the time, I need a place to live, I need a place to live. I said, no, it's a 55-plus park. We have perks here. Our rent stays low. Well, not anymore. I called the state. The state says, we no longer have anything to do with it. Our statutes don't count anymore. When did that stop? When does the state not protect us? So I found out that Orange County had an apartment complex that fought their rent increase. I think it went up $400. It was on the news. They went to their council members, and their council members fought for them. They got a 30-day notice. They have to get at least a 60-day notice. Okay, we have a 90-day notice, but that still does not help us. Our money's not going up. We're having to leave our places, and we are going to be on the street. I don't know what you can do to help us. I've made numerous phone calls. All they tell me to do is call elderly abuse. And then once you're out on the street, call us. We'll see if we can find you a place to stay. I appreciate your time. If you could call me, get a hold of me, let me know where to go. Most of our tenants aren't even fighting for this. They've all given up and said, I don't want to be kicked out for even trying to fight this. You know, they don't want retaliation. I tried to do a thing where everybody signed papers. They didn't want retaliation. Please help us with this. I'm begging you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in, and you will hear from us. Sharice Boyd.
Good morning, everyone. So this will be a little different from 2 weeks ago. One, I want everyone who has not voted, please vote, mail in your vote. I didn't check the numbers yesterday, but as of Sunday, we only had 11,000 people vote, and we have over about 400,000 registered voters in our county. I'm pretty sure the people who come here frequently have voted or are aware of what's going on. Something that I do want to say real quick to the entire council, so no one specifically. You all did delay the Wildlife Corridor project, and I do agree with those who agree that it was made political. I also agree with those who understand it is important. And unfortunately, waiting 2 months is not going to change all the damage that's been done. So I'm saying to those who were intelligent and fair enough, despite your parties, that y'all made the best decision, because we have enough people running on things that they haven't done, running on endorsements they shouldn't even have, and running on lies, basically. And I want to bring something to the public's attention because it's about transparency. About a month and a half ago, I went to Grace Community Church. There was a town hall meeting hosted by our councilman. The councilman approached, he spoke to the people, he did, and before saying the specific statement, he said, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And he stood there as the councilman in front of the public, and he endorsed his 4 candidates. Now, is he allowed to do that where he sits now? Because in my opinion, at Grace Community Church, he was acting at kind of like an annex location from the dais. And I'm pretty sure as the council people in a town hall meeting, you probably shouldn't go around endorsing 4 people. That's my opinion. And when I went to that meeting, I did not go as a candidate. I went as a community member and I spoke. Next is, we have a council up here, and I get it. You don't get along, you gotta fight. I'm out here, I listen to it. The reality is no one's gonna get everything they want, but we have to work on what we need. And throughout this race, as a candidate, I'm gonna tell you, and I agree with Councilwoman Post, both parties are shitty. They are. They're lying to each other, they're using each other. People in this party are doing this, people are that. And that's because everyone, it seems like, that has lost focus of why you're sitting there, not just you in general, leaders. You're here to help the people. I understand the oath is to protect the business, but the business would not exist without the people. It's just like the customer's always right. No, we're not always right, but we are always the priority. So I'm gonna ask that you all continue to do the best you can and realize that not just me, other elected officials in the city, people in this audience, obvious some of y'all, understand that the view has been lost, the goal has been lost. So thank you.
Susie Peace.
Susie Peace DeLand. Thank you very much for all you're doing for us. I appreciate all of you, and Chair, appreciate you too. By the way, I think if toilet to tap is good enough for astronauts, it might be good enough for us at some point. June 20th, Governor DeSantis signed a bill into law that will allow cities and counties to restrict smoking cigarettes at beaches and cigars at beaches and parks. HB 105 builds on a constitutional amendment that prohibited smoking in restaurants and indoor workplaces. The new law applies to filtered cigarettes and cigars only. The law was passed overwhelmingly by our legislature, and Joe Gruters, the senator, said the bill was to rid beaches of cigarettes and cigar butts that don't degrade quickly. Please sponsor this bill in Volusia County. Have staff look into it, and let's do this. Volusia County managed beach is 35.6 miles, and the conservation zone is 18.9 miles of that length. We all have seen cigarette butts on the beach. I went to New Smyrna last Friday and found 2 in the parking lot and 2 almost as soon as I stepped off the boardwalk onto the beach. Cigarette butts are eaten by wildlife, by birds, by turtles, and by children. I remember when my daughter was about 9 months, and we were at the beach, and she picked up a cigarette butt, and she was looking at it, and luckily I grabbed it away from her. So this is a really yucky problem, and I realize it would probably be hard to enforce, but I think we should go there. We have so much beach, and it needs protecting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, Beachside. A couple of things. One, I wasn't planning on speaking, but the lady that spoke about the 55 and plus park, there's some of you that are closer to 55 and plus than others that are sitting here. Fortunately, you have the financial wherewithal, but there are a lot of people that do not. All right. So I don't know what you can do. Personally, first thing that came out of my mind is put a moratorium on the percentage of rate increase. All right. If you're going to get a 50 or 60 or 80% increase, that's phenomenal. And most people can't do that. Even those of us that have our own homes, if my mortgage were to double or triple, I'd probably have to leave. Okay. Been there 40 years and I'd hate to go, but I would have to. And that sounds like what's going to happen to them. So think about what you can do to limit the amount of increase. We do that with the taxes. I think it's a 3% if you live there so long. Perhaps this kind of thing could be done. Secondly, with regard to the political parties and naming them, I went 40 years coming to the city, to the county council, and twice in 40 years did I know what party somebody belonged to. Had no basic knowledge of what religion you guys were, or whether you wore boxers or brief or any other question. All right? You were council members. All right? So to me, I don't want to know. I want to know whether you're qualified or not, whether you're good, bad, or indifferent. That's how I vote. I vote Republican, Independent, Democrat, doesn't bother me. I look at the person. And the idea of sitting there saying, oh, no, don't look at the person, look at the party. It could be a really, really terrible person, but you have to vote for them because they're in a particular party. Absolutely makes no sense to me. There have been scandals, and I'm sure you're aware of them over the years. When there's scandals, whether they're your party or not, you don't vote for them. All right? If somebody's bad, you vote them out, regardless of what party. So I'm asking you never go to defining people by the party that they're in. Okay? Lastly, I hate to do this, but some of you remember at the end of the last meeting, we talked for about an hour. I got this in the mail. All right? Jeff stepped in it once or twice during the meeting. Okay, Barbara threw him a life preserver. He said he would write the letter, and then we spoke for another 55 minutes on whether the letter was kosher or not, and then we went into all kinds of things. All right? We shouldn't have to do that. Right? There's a very thin line when you're on that board, sitting up there. When you speak as an individual and when you speak for the board. You have to be aware of that. There's an emblem on this flyer that looks so very close to the one that's sitting behind there. If it weren't for the rays on the sun, they would be almost identical. So you have to be very, very careful. And I'd ask Jeff to talk to Pat Northey, talk to Frank Bruno on the best way to get the things done. He wants things done. It has to be done correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, that concludes public participation for this part of the meeting. That brings us to item 1, the consent agenda. Does anyone have an item they would like to pull for discussion or a vote? Billy Wheeler.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just like G, H, I, and J just pulled for discussion only.
Mr. Chair, item C also needs to be removed from consent.
Yes.
The contract task assignment, or the sale of county-owned land crossing industrial park, lot 6.
It will be rescheduled.
Okay, so C is removed and will be rescheduled. We have G, H, I, J for discussion. Anyone else? Councilman Lowry moves for approval. Wheeler seconds to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed 7-0. We
Mr.
will
Chair,
discuss. Yes.
can you clarify who made that second?
It was Billy Wheeler. And Carmen, you're going to do G?
Yes, I am. So good morning, everyone. Carmen Hall, Community Assistance Director. All of these items are very positive items. They help bring in funding to our community to help a lot of our low-income residents with much-needed services. So the first one, I'll go ahead and go through them really quick. The first one is our low-income home energy assistance program. This is funded through ARPA. This is an additional $1 million through the American Rescue Plan Act funds, and this will help our low-income households with heating and cooling costs. And we anticipate being able to serve over 1,200 or provide 1,200 benefits to our community. The next item is our low-income home energy assistance program. This is our regular annual program. We are receiving $2.3 million in this funding. It is also to help our low-income residents with heating and cooling costs. We anticipate being able to serve over 3,000 or provide 3,000 benefits in this program. The next program is our low-income home water assistance program. This is funded through ARPA, and this is a pilot program that is being offered through the Department of Economic Opportunity. And this is going to help our low-income households with drinking water and sewer bills. So we anticipate being able to provide over 1,600 benefits to low-income households with this program. And then the final item is our Community Services Block Grant Program. This is a regular annual program that we receive. We're anticipating, or we are receiving right over $500,000. This helps fund our Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which provides ongoing case management to low-income households, and then also provides emergency rent and mortgage assistance to low-income households. We anticipate assisting over 50 households with this program. That is it.
Thank you. Any questions? Heather Post?
Yes, and Carmen, for the utility assistance or rental mortgage assistance, could you just tell the public where they can go to reach out to find out about that or to apply for those things?
Yes, on our website on volusia.org under human services, we have an appointment line that they can call to make an appointment, or they can go on our website and actually apply online for energy assistance, and they can upload all of their documents at volusia.org.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Item 2, this item will be moved to September 6, 2022. Heather, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that.
Nope.
Nope, okay.
Just looking forward to it.
Okay, good. That brings us to Kevin Captain, and item 3. Confirmation of appointment of Aaron Van Kleeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kevin Captain, Community Information Director. Item 3, as you mentioned, is the confirmation of appointment of Aaron Van Kleeck to the position of Finance Department's Deputy Director. County Manager George Rechtenwald will give some background on Mr. Van Kleeck. George?
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Chair, Honorable Council, today I'm delighted to recommend Aaron Van Kleeck to the position of Deputy Director of the county's Finance Department. Aaron is one of our homegrown success stories. Started here in 2003 out of Road and Bridge. I remember him as a very young and aggressive supervisor and equipment operator. And he's literally worked his way from there all the way up to where he's at today. He was he worked in Parks and Rec as a project coordinator, and then he got some more experience, and then he found his niche in 2016 as the Management and Budget Division, where he excelled as an analyst and special projects coordinator and activity project manager. 2 years ago, he earned the well-deserved promotion to the Management and Budget Director. And in this position, he has directed the preparation of the county budget, which we can all agree is no small task at all. He also prepares the 5-year capital improvement plan and ensures compliance with the trim rates. In addition to that, Aaron has volunteered to coordinate the United Way campaign, the countywide food drive, and the division's diversity initiative. To say he's passionate about his job is definitely an understatement. He's very well liked. He's very approachable for his coworkers. They often need to work with him on their various financial issues, and he's always there. And upon his confirmation, I just want to let it be known he still will serve as the Management and Budget Director. So he's going to wear 2 hats for us, as well as the Finance Department Deputy Director. Aaron's got a positive attitude. It's definitely a can-do attitude. When we hand him these challenges, he gets right on it. And I will say, if you get in my office with any kind of practical joke, we'll revisit this, because he is a known practical joker, which does help keep everybody on their toes, and I do appreciate that. For that, I present Aaron Van Kleeck.
You're going to have questions, or either questions, or you're going to be roasted at the end of this, so be careful. So we have numerous council members who would like to speak to you.
I'd rather the vote first, to be honest.
Billy Wheeler, is that what you're...
Yes, I move approval of your new position. Thank you so much. What a joy you have been. And I understand what you're saying. That's even better.
Second. Let's see. Barb, was that your voice? I think you were first. Barb Gertman and Ben Johnson both tried to second you, so you're seconded.
Awesome.
Now, any discussion before we vote, or Heather and Barb, did you want to speak to him afterwards? Either way?
Either way.
Go ahead, Heather.
Aaron, so I noticed you didn't wear a suit today. You were very colorful, which is nice. Starting a new trend. But I just wanted to say, even before your current appointment, I have been, excuse me, I have been very pleased with how responsive you have been in my entire two terms of office. And you've always been available for me to come and ask questions. And whenever I've asked for anything, it's always been Johnny on the spot. And some of it's been pretty large or extensive things, and it's always readily available. I greatly appreciate all of that. I'm very, very glad to see someone of your caliber moving up. So welcome to your family there. I see this little guy trying to fit into the seat. But as his family, you already know to be proud of him, but I can tell you that we are very proud of him. Thank you.
Barbara Gertman.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to ditto everything that Heather said. Certainly, it's been a pleasure to watch you move up the ranks. And as Heather mentioned, you are so responsive, and I've been just proud of you and Ryan and how you've just taken it to a different level and looked at the opportunities from different perspectives. And I've just been really proud of the effort. And I think it's a new day in that way with some fresh eyes, and that you've looked at this from new opportunities and different ways to do the same. But I've asked you to message it in a way that's the most transparent and in a way that's best communicated to the public to help them better understand something that sometimes can be seen as complicated, but it's something that they really need to understand to the best opportunity. And I've seen you and Ryan boil that down as I and others have asked. So I'm just really proud of you, and sure there's more to come. And I just like that you keep investing in yourself, and that's just really important. So thank you for all you do.
Ben Johnson.
Aaron, there's a lot of things I'd like to say, but I won't.
You said you were going to be nice.
But really, you're a credit to this organization. You're so much help to all of us. You're always in a great mood. You bring a lot to the table. And it's always good to see when we can bring people up through the organization and not from the outside world. And you're one of those shining stars that we really hope to keep in the organization for many years to come. So you are a credit to Volusia County. Somebody I'm very proud to be able to work with. And you're always there for us. Thank you, and congratulations. It's a job well earned. Thank you.
I don't see anybody else, so I'll conclude with this. I think everybody up here would just say ditto, Aaron. We just heard that we need to retain EMS employees, and that is a fact. We also need to retain you, and I just hope that George giving you two hats to wear is not destructive to that goal. So is your wife here?
She is.
Would you please keep check on him? And because he is taking on a lot, plus all the extra curricular stuff that he's agreed to do. But that's who you are, and that's why you have the respect of everybody up here. And like Billy mentioned, Barb mentioned, you have been incredibly helpful in explaining possibly some of the most complicated things that the county has to deal with. The numbers are complicated. It's huge. It's different accounting than what happens in business. And you do that well and tirelessly, and I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here and hope that you will be here for a long time. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Your turn.
My turn. All right, so start out by saying I'm glad to be up here not speaking about numbers and percentages. It's a nice change. Thank you to council for your approval. I am honored to accept this position. The two hats will go well to cover up my hairline. So as a third generation of Volusia County resident, so I am the third in my family, third generation. I've called Volusia County home my entire life. I can't imagine raising my family that is now extended to grandchildren anywhere else. So this is definitely home forever. This month does mark 19 years that I've been an employee of Volusia County. When I started to think about what I'd say today, I started reflecting on those 19 years. And I can say, man, a lot's changed during that time. And I feel pride and now a little old. I could stand up here and talk for hours about all the people that have influenced and helped me along the way. I couldn't thank them enough, but I know you guys have some important stuff to get to today, so I'll keep it pretty brief. First, I do have to thank my wife, Jessica, who's here with me today. We've been married for nearly 25 years. She's put up with me for a long time. She's the one that puts up with my early mornings, my late night hours, but my always pleasant attitude. right? I couldn't ask for a better partner in life, and my success does not come without her support. I also would like to thank my parents for their constant love and support. My dad could not make it today, but my mom is here as always to cheer me on, and she brought my one of my nephews, Smile. Yeah. All right. And then a huge thank you to George for his confidence and support. It means the world to me. It is easy to be dedicated to a job with a leader like him, who truly cares about all of his employees and tries to be fair and considerate in all his actions. So it does make it easy on me. I do need to thank Ryan for his leadership in selecting me for this role. Ryan is one of the most brilliant individuals I have ever had the pleasure to work with, and I think we do make a great team. Thank you to my staff in the Management and Budget Division. They are like a family to me, and I am proud of the work they do. I couldn't be successful in my role without them. Jake's out sick today. As I said, after 19 years, there are so many other people I would like to stand up here and thank. However, to save time, I will just say this. In my experience, Volusia County staff at all levels are dedicated individuals that work tirelessly to provide services to the residents and maintain a high quality of life throughout Volusia County, and often they don't get the thanks that they deserve. I am proud to continually learn from and be a member of this talented and diverse team. Once again, thank you to County Council for your support, and I will do my best to live up to the expectations. Thank you.
Thank you. He and his family join us for pictures? That would, okay. Did we vote on him?
No, I was going to wait until after the pictures. You have a motion and a second, but no vote yet.
Well,
It may not be approved yet.
hanging in the balance.
Where's the no button?
Do you think we should call the roll? All right. Why don't you call the roll?
Dr. Lowry,
Yes.
Miss Post,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins, Miss Wheeler,
Yes.
Miss Gertman,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Brower.
Yes. Now you've been voted on 7-0. It's okay. That brings us to item 4, presentation of economic development data for the second quarter of 2022. And this will be brought to us by Cyrus Halem and also Helga Van Eckert. Cyrus?
Morning, Mr. Chair, County Council, Cyrus Callum, Aviation and Economic Resources. Aaron is a tough act to follow, but I do have Miss Helga Van Eckert, who is going to attempt to do that with the second quarter results of 2022.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And after Aaron said nobody wants to hear about numbers, that's what I get to talk to you about. So just bear with me, please. I'll try to make it painless. We actually have some really great numbers to share. So with that, I'll get started. What we looked at this quarter was a couple of the super sectors within our community, just to show where we were with respect to number of jobs and salaries. You'll notice on these slides, the data only goes to 2020 because of the source of the data and the amount of research necessary to pull that. But I wanted to show it because it reflects COVID, and I don't want us to underestimate the impact that it had on us. So on this particular slide that deals with transportation and utilities, the darker line, the blue line on top, shows that the workforce numbers were actually decreased, but the green line shows that the salaries were increased, which is a good indicator that wages went up. Typically, that could be a reflection of one or two things. One, it could be that because of COVID, a lot of the lower paying positions were laid off temporarily, so the average was more based on the managerial and the higher positions. Or it could be that because of the COVID, that certain wages were paid higher because there was overtime associated with it. So we still have a little while before we see that which one of those two it was, but it is an expected result that we see here. Same thing with manufacturing. You can see the number of employees in manufacturing at that time really took a dive, but wages went up. What I think we're going to see over the next few quarters is a change in that, and we already have seen in the future slide. So, and then the last one we wanted to talk about here with the super sector is professional and business services. You can see that the wages again went up. The number of positions went down, but not to the same degree, because that was one of the industries that was able to have people work from home. So they didn't miss as much time doing the positions because they were able to transition to, we all did. How many go-to meetings did we do during that period of time, right? So, so the impact with respect to actual workforce was less. But it shows you that each of the different super sectors that we work with were impacted in different ways. I don't have the hotel industry on here, but you all know they were hit very hard during COVID. This is a standard slide for us. I put it on every quarter because I think it's important that we monitor the number of employees migrating into our community, the number of potential employees within our community, and then the number that out-migrate. And the reason I think it's so important to show the out-migration is that's available workforce that we can turn that arrow around, bring those people back so that they're working in the community, provided we put those jobs in place to accommodate that. Okay. Right now you can see that the net migration is actually to the negative for us. 49,000 more people migrate out of the community for work than we have working within our community. And if you look about the net worker out migration by industry, we've got it shown here. I'm not going to go into the details, but you can see where the movement is. Major employment by industry, this is also, if you haven't noticed, we're focusing on workforce this round, right? But this is also an important slide for you to take a look at, because you'll note that almost all of the industries are back to, and this is current data, back to pre-pandemic or better than pre-pandemic numbers. We really have seen positive movement through most of the industries. There's only a couple that are still showing a loss. Education and health services is showing a substantial differential of approximately 1,000. Leisure hospitality is actually caught up. And state government is down, and information is down as far as workforce. Everybody else has moved up by their sector to pre-pandemic levels or better. Actually, if you look at the transportation and warehouse on the right-hand side, we've more than increased in that area. We've almost doubled. We went from 2,900 up to 5,700 just in that short period of time. And a lot of that is because of the industries that have come into the area, as well as new interest in, buying online and so forth. Our unemployment trend, you can see the bottom two lines are this year's. Between May and June, you can see our number and the state of Florida number are both going up. I can't speak for the state of Florida's unemployment number going up this past month, but I can tell you with respect to our numbers, if you look at this slide, it's a positive. because we haven't gone down in workforce that's employed. What's happened is we've increased in workforce that's available. So our labor force has actually increased, probably primarily due to graduations and people who are now available to work, which is a positive for our employers who are looking for staff, right? So what we need to do is to get that number to continue to go up and keep a healthy unemployment rate. I'll tell you, the 2% unemployment rate we've been seeing, that's full employment. That's not where we're seeing a lot of transition and movement within the workforce. Municipal employment breakdown is here. I'm not going to go over those numbers because that is painful. So I'm going to stop with the workforce there, and then I just want to take a moment to let all of you know that Volusia Business Resources, as you all know, has been an initiative we've been working on for the past year. We've made so much progress on that with all of our partners so that we can make the resources that our businesses need to succeed. And this week, our website, which is the hub for all of the entities, has gone live. We're really excited about it. Anybody who has a phone can take a picture or scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. It'll actually take you to the website. It's a really great site. I don't believe I have access to it on here, but it will connect our businesses to the resources that they need. They can sort by type of need, the entity specifically. We have workbooks on there to help them figure out how to start businesses, and it's only going to go up from there. So I'm just really excited and proud of the work that they've done with that. Please check it out and give us your feedback. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
I feel like we need to applaud that last thing that you mentioned. Thank you. Good work.
You have to check it out. It's really a great site.
Yes. Questions, council?
No questions? I have copies of the Q book as well as a brochure on VBR for all of you. And then the only other thing I didn't mention is that the Q is this Friday, and we're really excited. We've got the Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Laura DeBella, coming to speak to us. So if you haven't registered, there's still a couple seats out there, I'm told, but they're going quickly. Thank you.
Before you go, Heather Post.
I stepped out for 1 second, so I
Oh,
just
you
wanted to
snuck
make
it.
sure that the new website, that you definitely discuss that and let people know how to get there.
The VBR, the Volusia Business Resource website, yes.
Okay.
And the slide actually has a QR code on it that takes you directly to the site. Yeah.
It's
good
it is
catch, right?
amazing. So I really wanted to highlight that, and
Thank
the
you.
fact that we're doing that for our small businesses and that you can lots of resources.
So that's just the beginning. The team, all of the practitioners within the county, everybody's working together to put together programs that are responsive. And as you know, that was generated as a result of a survey that we did last year, reaching out to all the businesses, and we've just passed the 1-year marker. So we're going to start that survey again to see if we've made any progress. And those things that have been working, we're going to increase, and those that haven't, we're going to do a fast fail and change our approach.
Thank you.
And your report does not require a vote, but it does deserve a thank you from the council.
Thank you.
Nice work. That brings us to item 5, the fiscal year 22-23 advertising authority budget. And I'm not sure who's, yep, I see who's going first.
Good morning. I'm Lori Campbell Baker, the Executive Director for the Halifax Area Advertising Authority, doing business as the Daytona Beach Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm going to try and do this without glasses. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. First, I want to start off by saying that the budget that you will be looking at today comes to you as, there we go. Thank you. Comes to you through a process. The staff drafted it. The committees then vetted it, put their stamp of approval on it, and then the board itself tweaked it, made it their own, and that is what is coming to you today. This, just as a reminder, is our board, the Halifax Area Board, and all of the members appointed by the County Council. And in the room here is John Phillips, our board member from Embry-Riddle, and I apologize if I'm missing any others. Hi, Jenna. I'll be pointing at you. Thanks. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about the highlights of this current fiscal year that ends next month. So excited to say that we have launched our 3-year strategic plan with MMGY. It has a lot of great playbook items that will keep us moving forward in a very strategic direction for the next 3 years. We've engaged even more on social media. The trail guide that we talked about last year, we've added murals to it, and 23 so far. We're finding new ones in the community and promoting that as well. We also talked a bit last year about a higher household income target, our campaign. What we're trying to do is bring folks into the destination that are spending more money, that are staying longer, that are supporting our local businesses and our employees to a greater degree. Always working with Tim and his crew at the Ocean Center, Cyrus and his team at the airport. We've hosted some great events here in the destination, including Esports Travel Summit, Destination Southeast, which has given us really good exposure. And then, of course, through the public relations efforts, always getting out there with key influencers and travel writers and media to tell the story of this great destination. These are just a few examples of the mural trail. Highly recommend, get on DaytonaBeach.com, check it out. Collaboration, always key. So we promote the entire county in the assets, but we really always drive them to the Halifax area when it comes to overnight stays. But the vacation guide, the Share the Heritage, African American sites, the golf and the arts map, you'll find countywide initiatives there. And of course, partnerships with the Ocean Center, always, and with the airport. You'll see in the budget an increased commitment. Right now we have $50,000 for airlift support. In this budget that you'll be looking at approving today, $150,000, and of course $400,000 for the Ocean Center. Huge partnerships for us, but the biggest partnerships, I would say, with Debbie Meals and Georgia Turner and those teams. We work very well together. And as we go into the goals, I just want to take a quick minute to mention that the CVB's dream team, the leadership team, is here in the audience. So Andrew Booth, communications, Chuck Grimes has finance, Linda McMahon has sales, and Kay Galloway has consumer and the entire marketing department. So in terms of what we plan to accomplish this coming year, I know I say it every year, but never has there been a more exciting time to be in tourism marketing. You see the investments coming into the area, you see the properties, you see the attractions, the restaurants, everything is just expanding at a great level. Huge opportunity here. So we are going to continue to diversify that market. We have a new advertising agency that officially starts October 1, and that is the Zimmerman Agency out of Tallahassee. Someone asked me the other day, do we put the call out to local agencies when we do this? Absolutely. We reach far and wide, and the board then looks at the folks that are qualified, and we chose from then. So the Zimmerman Agency starts, and they've already done, I'm sorry, I need water. They've already done a lot of groundwork on this. So we did some momentum planning sessions just recently, engaged some of you who are in the room, and we thank you for that. And already we are coming up with strategy that's very exciting. So beach on. Thank you so much. Part of what we're doing in terms of strategic planning is a brand study. We want to know from the folks that are involved and the folks that will be potentially visiting, what is unique about us? We think we know, but do we? And so that has been a really interesting part of the plan for us. Business intelligence. What we know from the board is that data is what they want to look at. How can we get more investment? How can we get more visitors? How can we put those data pieces together? You'll see in this budget that we're adding data. The data, by the way, the technology is amazing. I remember about 5 years ago, I said what they can do in terms of seeing visitors coming in, where they're going, where they're staying, how long they're staying, was fascinating. They stepped it up a notch. And you'll hear that, I think, from both Debbie and Georgia, too. It's amazing. So we'll continue to partner with the airport, the Ocean Center, places like the Speedway, places that have group space that we can book. Our teams are out there constantly getting those leads and leading business to the destination. I'm thinking we've covered most of this. Part of what we're doing, but we're going to step that up a notch too, involves Andrew back there and the community. We are launching a series of community listening sessions. Right now, we're out there in the community once or twice a month with radio talk shows, that sort of thing. We get in front of audiences. We have a couple of appearances this week, as a matter of fact. But we're going to step that up a notch. We're going to have regularly scheduled times when the community members can come in, learn a bit about what we're doing, how we do it, but then really learn how to better engage with us. So Barb's nodding. We know about the assets that Volusia County has, but we also know that a lot of people are moving in, are new, and don't know all of it. How can we help them to be our best advocates, our community ambassadors? And sometimes we need those ambassadors as volunteers as well, especially when we have big groups and conventions coming in. The budget you see here includes the amount that the county, who's been great to work with, by the way, is estimating that we will make in convention development tax here in the Halifax area. In addition to that, we are pulling $1.4 million from our fund balance because we actually had a string of 14 consecutive record-setting revenue months. So we are pulling $1.4 million from that, which adds to this budget that you see here. And the idea is there are a lot of destinations that are also doing well. So we're going up against some big dogs who have big marketing dollars. We want to be as competitive and as strategic as we can. And so all of the details are in your packet. But we're very excited about this year and what it brings.
Welcome to Daytona Beach, known as the world's most famous beach. So what are we famous for? Iconic, white, sandy beaches with unforgettable views and equally unforgettable moments. We're famous for rekindling sparks, recharging your batteries, and getting away from everything except each other. We're famous for this, and a whole lot of this. And with so many amazing, relaxing, and romantic things to do, we're famous for more than you think. So don't wait. Discover everything we're famous for and plan your escape at DaytonaBeach.com today.
Okay, so who's ready to go on vacation? Right, Suzanne's ready. That is all I have. I'll take any questions, and thank you for your support throughout the year and your questions prior to this.
Questions, council? You must have covered it. And you've
Thank
got
you
two
so
others,
much.
correct?
Yes, yes.
So you might have questions at the end. but-
I
Billy
do.
Wheeler.
I just did want to make a comment. Thank you for increasing the amount that goes to the airport. You know, that's such a big factor, and it's becoming more and more. So hopefully you can continue to squeak out some money for that.
We are big fans of your entire airport
Yeah.
team and what they're doing. I actually will be joining them at the Roots Conference to talk about what this destination has to offer and to try to help them to secure some airlift support. We know it helps not only on the leisure side, but also on the meeting side.
Absolutely.
So they're doing a great job.
Thank you for that.
We have the most beautiful, easy to deal with airport in Central Florida. It's an amazing
Could not
place.
agree more.
Hope that the airlines begin taking notice just what an incredible place that is and how easy it is to maneuver and
Right.
fly in and out of. So, Barb Gertman.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
A big part of our conversation was about local advocacy and building trusted voices on a local level to be our advocates throughout the community. And I think that makes a difference across the board for all the tourism agencies. But I think especially for Daytona as it gets re-envisioned.
Yes, well said.
Right?
Well said.
So I'm just glad that you're taking that to the next level and making that a priority. So thank you so much.
Well, I think that's in big part, you know, we were lucky enough to get Andrew Booth as our communications director. Kate Holcomb, who was fantastic, retired recently, and this is Andrew's project coming in. So we're excited for that. We also know that nearly 50% of the visitors that come in, last year it was 9.9 million, actually come to visit friends and family in the area. But we also know that we as residents get very busy. And so whereas we add things to the site every single week, events, new restaurants, new attractions, that sort of thing, when do we as residents have the time to go through all that? So we're looking for new ways to help educate residents so they can be our ambassadors.
Sure.
If people are coming to visit them, they need to be excited too, and we want to help them to have the same excitement that this team has.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I think it makes a major difference to have the local trusted voices that people see the smiles on their face and want to know why and
We-
make them want to be a part of it. So
We totally agree with you.
thank you.
So who's next? Southeast.
Debbie's up.
And you brought your own water.
I did. I thought, I see a trend here. Better be safe than sorry. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's can't believe a year has gone by already. But I want to point out Donna Ruby that was sitting next to me. She's our treasurer of the Southeast Volusia Advertising Board. And I've got the staff back at the ranch, and I've got our board watching live stream, and our agency, Reller Brands, and our digital firm, ITI Digital, Pineapple PR, and all of our great vendors. So thank you all, and thank you all for your support during the year. I'm really excited to show a lot of, let's see if I did, good. A lot of great updates this year. You've got the visitor profile and the new visitor guide in front of you. We took a lot of work working on that guide. We did it in-house this year. We had 5 journalists write the stories in the book, and we've had a really good response to it with the welcome centers and all of our fulfillment efforts. We did update the website this year. We've got a new layout, more visual, bigger graphics. You know, everybody loves videos. We're working on those now. There's a larger sustainability page and itineraries, which have all of our trails on there. One of the exciting things that we have to offer this year is our board approved 3 years ago, after we did our strategic plan with MMGY, which Lori referenced, they approved the our destination master plan, which is a very comprehensive look, and it's working with all 5 cities. And all of the cities' comprehensive plans, their strategies, economic development in the area, our visitor economy and merging that into one plan to move forward with. So we're all on the same page, working for a unified goal. So we started in January, and we went out to the industry. We had 842 resident survey responses. We sent out about over 3,000 responses to our Southeast Volusia area. And MMGY said this was really good because Los Angeles had 1,000 resident response. So I thought we did pretty good. So we're truly getting input from everyone. We had 67 industry survey responses, and that's from our tourism industry. 34 frontline surveys, which we just concluded that. We just turned that off last week. That's to the employees at all the restaurants, the lodging, attractions. And we did 12 VIP interviews with folks. And then we have a 24 partner engaged led steering committee who is going to be vital, working through this with our board to make sure every voice is heard and the plan is comprehensive. So we began earlier this year. It's going to conclude in April of 2023 when the board approves it. And we'll be giving everybody an update. We have this documentation on our website, so anybody can see that. We're being totally transparent for the resident. We do have focus groups, 8 focus groups on the 22nd and the 24th. They will be one for Flagler Avenue Canal, 3rd, and then we're going to have the hospitality, and then we're going to have the arts, and we're going to have restaurants and attractions, and then we're going to have a resident focus group, which will include New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater, Oak Hill, and Osteen, and then also one in Port Orange, which will encompass all of the Port Orange residents. So we're working with economic development in Port Orange and the mayor to get these, save the date out so that they'll come. So we're really excited to get this intel, and then we'll work the plan. And out of this plan, we'll get a 10-year roadmap to work with our economic development offices, our cities, and it will then develop into a 3-year strategy plan for our office. And then just going on, we did reopen our international offices in November. So we've got them handling both the German market and all the Swiss and Central European. We went to International Powwow, which was held in Orlando. And there's pent-up demand in the international markets to come over. Florida's perceived very safe and a great buy. So we're trying to work with those tour operators to book the properties here and get those packages. They're like Uber travel agents. So it's a great way to extend our marketing prowess, and also the international traveler travels when the domestic traveler does not. So we need that diversity in the traveling visitor economy. Some key partnerships. We are working with Advent Health. We have a bunch of tips on our website for health and wellness. So we have do the Stingray Shuffle, what happens if you get a love nip from a shark, what if you get a spider bite or a snake bite, and all of that goodness that Advent Health can help us with. And we also started working a little bit deeper this year with New Smyrna Speedway. And they actually took the Whalen Modified Tour and dubbed it the New Smyrna Beach Area Visitor Bureau 200. So we got a lot of great press with that, and we look forward to working with them on many other races and events out there. I'm really proud that we've been working even closer with our 3 cities that have economic development offices. So Oak Hill, Edgewater, and New Smyrna Beach. And we did livability. We did an ad in there for the last 2 years. And we just did an ad in Site Selection Magazine, which is a pinnacle magazine for economic development. And we're working on doing the same for this coming year. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Daytona Beach Airport. Like Lori said, we love working with them. I too have a very small line item in my budget for the airport, but of course we have continually put them in our visitor newsletter. They're on our website. We've put them everywhere we can for in-kind and trying to get that word out because we love that airport too. A little bit of, I wanted to highlight a few articles that came up this year. Travel and Leisure dubbed us this beach destination is Florida's most underrated. So we've got a really good luxury audience here with Travel and Leisure, over 5.5 million online impressions. And then Southern Living, of course, we love that magazine, 1.9 million online readers, and why you'll love New Smyrna Beach. And then Talk Greenville, about 800,000 printing online. And this was a special focus on the Black Dolphin, one of our luxury bed and breakfasts, which also made TripAdvisor's #1 list for, I think, like 5 years straight. Last week, Condé Nast came out and dubbed New Smyrna Beach one of the East Coast surfing paradises in Florida. So we're getting really good traction now. This is something we've been working on. So it's really coming to fruition. Our agency Rella Brands, this is our 22-23 luxury campaign. You can see we're talking about the luxury of slipping off and to watch the sun go down, the luxury of feeling like you're on top of the world, you know, all those feelings like with sand between your toes and so close to Mother Nature. So we're really excited to launch this campaign as well. Our budget, we've had a lot of carryover from the COVID days. As you know, we took a pretty tight stance and really kind of tampered down the office quite a bit, but we did not stop working on any campaign. So we have some rollover here, and you'll see that our marketing expenses for next year will be almost $4 million, and we're really excited about that, to do some really exciting integrated campaigns. Our overhead has pretty much stayed consistent. Everything's gone up. So we will see a little increase there. And of course, we have one position on the books to hire to get to our pre-pandemic level. So we're just trying to get our staff back to that level now. And here's the pie chart. You can see we have a healthy reserve of $1.9 million, and we will keep that growing because we really feel we never know what's going to go on between all of these pandemics and just Mother Nature and climate crisis and who knows what. We need to have that backup so we can start the year strong and go ahead and make sure that we fulfill our duty to our lodging properties. And this is just a little spreadsheet here showing you what we had for staff for this year and going into, or the past year. So we're just really just kind of getting back up to the 5 for our staff. And then for marketing and advertising, again, marketing expenses are going up in the positive, which is great. Our overhead, about another $15,000 more just for expenses, telephone, everything went up. So those are the expenses there. And I wanted to just kind of preface this next thing. You know, we're working on our visitor economy, trying to dovetail with everybody, working with economic development offices. And so we did this video to kind of showcase how the visitor economy really affects businesses and how the visitor is so important because they want to come here and stay here and live here and then work here, and then the cycle just continues. So let's see if this will play if I click it one more time. Yeah. Okay.
If you live in the New Smyrna Beach area, it shouldn't surprise you why it was named one of Florida's best beach towns by many of the top travel companies. From Port Orange to the north to Oak Hill in the south, New Smyrna Beach on the coast to Osteen in the west, with Edgewater in the middle and everywhere in between, there's so much to enjoy here. We've got 17 miles of white, sandy beaches and an abundance of natural beauty. We've also got some of Florida's best parks, hiking and biking trails, pristine waterways, locally owned restaurants, arts, and culture. These are just a few things that make our communities so desirable. But did you know nothing helps sustain and develop our communities quite like sharing them with others? So you see, all the things you love that make this a great place to live also make it the perfect place to visit. And being the perfect place to visit also makes it the ideal place to own a business. So the more visitors we attract to support our businesses, the more the New Smyrna Beach area becomes an even better place to live. And the more it becomes an even better place to live, the more we'll attract even more businesses. And the more companies we have, that's right, the more jobs and opportunities we'll all have. See how that works? So to take advantage of all this opportunity, we need experts who know how to share the area's entire story with visitors worldwide. Visitors who appreciate nature's beautiful bounty and, like us, want to keep it like new. Luckily, those experts exist. In fact, they live and work right here in the New Smyrna Beach area. The staff at the New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau, the board of the Southeast Volusia Advertising Authority, and community stakeholders have been putting their heart and soul into promoting the ultimate New Smyrna Beach experience since 1987. With long-standing connections to national and international tourism marketing organizations, a commanding online presence, grabbing worldwide attention, and a support team of hundreds of local businesses and community partners. The New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau promotion brings visitors every year. The money these visitors spend at our local businesses stays in our community longer than they do. It even helps reduce every household's taxes in the area by more than $350 a year, making the New Smyrna Beach Area a vibrant place to live, work, play, and visit. The New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau marketing and planning tools help people choose to visit and discover why we love the laid-back luxury here. Between the natural beauty, creative community, and laid-back lifestyle, it's no surprise visitors choose to return, relocate, and even start a valuable business here, building a stronger community in this beautiful area we all call home. Now that's the growth we can use. As a resident, follow us on social media and share our posts with your friends and family. Remind them what makes the New Smyrna Beach Area the perfect place to visit. With your support, we can attract more visitors to our beautiful home that want to keep it like new, help our business prosper, and make the area an even better place to live, work, play, and visit. The New Smyrna Beach Area Visitors Bureau, strengthening our community by bringing visitors to our community to share and enhance our home. Visit nsbfl.com.
Okay. So that we're going to be pushing out to our economic development offices and on our website, hopefully, and the residents too, with the focus groups, just trying to let them better understand what we do and why we do it, and try to control the growth in a great sustainable way. So thank you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your dedication to Volusia County. I know many of you are not running for re-election, so I wish you well, and those that are running, I wish you well too. Thank you. Any questions?
Council? Don't see any, which brings up Georgia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. I just want to say congratulations to Aaron, because I've gotten a big kick out of working with him for a couple of years here. And also thanks to Jake and Jamie, who helped me a lot throughout the whole process. And I'd like to recognize my colleagues that are here with me. Christine Spence, who's my right-hand woman, who is our marketing manager, and then David Swinberg, who is our marketing coordinator, and Brenda Sidoti, who is here with Benedict Advertising, the best advertising agency in the world. So anyway, I've just got three words to say is best year ever. It's been an unbelievable year, and it's just really, I think what I'm going to tell you is going to show you how a little bit of money and a little bit more money can really expand what you're doing for a small budget like ours. I'm going to talk a little bit about our existing markets and advertising, some new things that we want to do, and then, of course, the most important things are our partnerships. Our existing markets, I come here every year, I feel like, and tell you, but this has really been our bread and butter, and especially during COVID times when people wanted to get outside so much. The trails have been so important, and outdoors, of course, arts, culture, and history, health and wellness, and then our weddings, which are great. Trails, 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 say it loud and proud. When I came here 6 years ago, 2025 seemed really far away, and that's the time frame that Tim Bailey and all of those guys told us that our trails would be completed. And I'm proud to say that Volusia County has definitely taken the lead in the three trails that we're involved in: the St. Johns River to Sea Loop, the Coast to Coast Trail, and the Heart of Florida Loop. So we're definitely in the forefront for that, and so proud of what we're doing. We have had two of our destinations, or two of our cities, that have been named trail towns by the Office of Greenway and Trails, so that's huge, and has given us a lot more promotion for DeBerry and Deltona. Then we've got the Chuck Lennon Mountain Bike Trail, which is also going to, I guess, have a ribbon cutting this weekend for a regular trail. Sunrail is important to us, and then we're really doing a whole lot with the Florida Bicycle Association. Another one of our trails is the Cool Craft Beverage Trail. We started this back in 2020 when Anne-Marie Williker with Odd Elixir Meads came up to us and said, "Georgia, we don't only just have beer, we've got mead and wine and coffee and all kinds of great stuff." So this has been a fantastic public relations program, and this year I think we have like 25 cool crafters now, and 12 of them are in a big heated competition right now. So take a look at Cool Craft Trail /summer, and you'll see the Cool Craft Summer competition that they're all a part of. We've done a mobile passport with Coolcraft Trail, and then we're always adding new people every day. And we're excited because Beetroot, which was one of our original crafters, is coming back. So I don't know if you've heard that or not. Arts and culture, and the rest is history. That's something that we use a lot. We do some co-op, a lot of co-op opportunities with Stetson Mansion. They're hoping to get about 20,000 people there this year for their, just alone for their Christmas spectacular that they have. And then the Museum of Art this past year had a John Mellencamp exhibit and are always bringing up really great stuff. We work real closely with the Historical Society, and we're also always trying to do new podcasts and different activities for arts and culture. Wings of the West is our other trail that we have. It's been in existence since 2014 when Erica Group, our artist in residence, she is now, but drew a pair of angel wings on the side of a building, and the rest is history pretty much. We've been really excited about the little wings that she has a little boy and a baby on the way, and so she had drew some little wings in order for people to pose with their children and with their pets. So you've seen a lot of those. Wellness is another one of our initiatives. We started this back in 2020 with the DeLand Chamber of Commerce with about 40 partners, and now we're up to 160 partners because they expanded it to where wellness is a lot of different things, not just what we're talking about. So Visit Florida, which we're very involved in, has used or is utilizing wellness as one of their initiatives, so we're real excited about that. Weddings have been very important to us all throughout our whole corridor, all the way from Astor down to Enterprise. There's weddings all the time. More wedding vendors, more venues that join us every day. We're updating our wedding guide and also going to more bridal shows. This Villa Festa that you see down on the bottom there is a new property that's being redone here in DeLand. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, but there's things going up every day that are just amazing for us in weddings. As far as advertising and marketing goes, we're still doing some traditional print marketing. This to the right is a great tool that we had. It was a mail out that we did for the villages, and then this year we sent something similar out to Jacksonville, just because our older market loves to have things in her hand, and people actually came into our visitor center here in DeLand with this in their hands, saying that they wanted to do what was in the brochure. Because we're not as well known, being West Volusia, we use a lot of Google search and display, and of course social media is big for us, not only for the destination, but we also kind of segment it out for trails and wellness and weddings, arts and culture. Something else that we've had a lot of success with is our third-party endorsements. Lori was talking a minute ago about influencers and bloggers and travel writers. We get paid to say how great West Volusia is, but these folks are coming in, and we have automatic ambassadors, anybody that comes in. I talked about going to some wedding shows, but we also do travel shows, RV shows, boomer shows, which are for the older crowd. So what's next? If you get about $300,000 more in marketing, what do you do? So what we are doing is, first of all, our website's about 6 years old, and it's showing its, it's showing its age. So we're working on a brand new, beautiful website, utilizing a lot of the video that we shot several years ago that was the What's Up in West Volusia series that was so popular. We've got a lot of that. It's funny just because 3 or 4 years ago, a 4-minute video was kind of short, and now we're working more on 14-second videos. But we're also doing some connected TV. We had a lot of success with Visit Florida, a co-op that we did a couple of years ago with streaming TV. And we're also, for the first time in several years, doing some research. So we're excited about that. Just as far as what's coming up too, we've got some new emerging markets. The LGBTQIA plus has been important to us just because we do have two strong pride programs within Volusia County in DeLand and in Lake Helen. Accessible travel and Hispanic market are two things that Visit Florida is going to be kind of focusing on in this upcoming year, and we've got the capability for both of those. Southern Florida, not just South Florida, but Southern Florida is also important to us. We've really focused more on the people north of us, and so now we're going to go to the southern part. The exhibit, like that I was talking about with John Mellencamp, some of the Stetson Mansion, they're really seeing people from like Boca and Del Rey and those areas. So we're doing that. I kind of shocked the county staff when I said that NFTs are something that we're possibly looking into, but our friends in Flagstaff, Arizona have had some success. Well, and really a lot of different people throughout the tourism industry are looking at creative ways to utilize non-fungible tokens. And I don't know enough of what I'm talking about to talk about that. So anyway, the biggest part of what we do, and especially when you have a small budget like we do, is partnerships. And we're very, very proud of everybody that we deal with. Our newest partnership is with Volusia Speedway Park up in Barberville. They have been bought out by the folks that run the World of Outlaws and the Dirt Car Nationals in February, and now they've got a year-round program. A lot of fans, plus I tell the staff, they know, their fans know what Volusia is. So really Volusia Speedway's, well known throughout the country for dirt track and go-karts. So we're really excited about that being the preferred travel partner. They have a new general manager out there named Anthony Tate, who came from NASCAR. Smart, fun, great. Really looking forward to working with them out there. Some of our other partnerships, of course, I call them my big sisters, but the Halifax area and New Smyrna, Lodging and Hospitality Association, all the people in the Southeast and in the United States that we work with. Still doing two big national crappie tournaments, the Crappie Masters and Crappie USA in January. And we've also started doing a couple of TV shows. One of them is called Fishing University, that's awesome. And we're also going to be able to do a couple of other shows that highlight our bass fishing. We're the official travel partner of Stetson Athletics, and we're also giving out some grants for other Volusia County events like our 5Ks, the what used to be the Sport Aviation Showcase, which is now going to be the Aero Showcase. Just, working with as many people as come into our office as we can. These are just more folks. Main Street to Land, our two heritage corridors and scenic byways, of course, the airport, Historical Society, Florida Outdoor Writers. We work with everybody. Just come in and ask us to work with you. My budget, as I said, not really that different on the personnel services or the operating expenses, but the marketing expenses have definitely gone up because we, back in 2021, our actuals were $725,000, and this year it's estimated that we're going to have 964. So we're definitely looking at doing, as I told you, some more creative things. And but as Debbie said, we kind of know if we need to that we can scale back. We learned that in 2020, and with digital buys the way they are now, it's not like you have hundreds of thousands of dollars that are already committed into print advertising or anything like that. We still have our 3 full-time employees, and we changed our way that we work with our part-time employees this past year, and it's worked great. We used to have them come in, they were just there on Saturdays when we weren't there. But now, since we're gone so much, we have them come in when we need them. So that's worked really well, but it's not cost us any more. Again, here you can just see, this makes me so proud and happy. I just don't know what to do with our marketing expenses going up. And the majority of that is going to be in our promotional advertising, although we'll stay the same in some of the different things that we do. Some of our professional services that went up, you'll see that that's research and some other things that we haven't done in a couple of years. Operating expenses staying pretty steady, but rental buildings go up, utilities go up, that kind of thing. Just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much, because all of you are so supportive of what we do, and as well as my colleagues here. It's just been a fantastic year, and we just look forward to an even better year in the upcoming year. So thank you. Any questions, comment, words of wisdom? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You did a good job. Billy Wheeler.
If there's no further conversation, I'd like to move approval.
Motion to approve the budget by Wheeler, second by Johnson. And discussion, Barbara Gartman. Nope, you were there for a second. Before we vote on it, I would just like to ask George, unless you want to hand it off to Ryan or somebody, this is mostly for the public, but I would like public to know, we're approving a $33,448,378, we're voting on that budget. Where does that money come from, and how does it need to be used?
I'll have Ryan come down, but I'll just summarize with, you have taxes that are associated for when you rent a room, short-term rental, hotel. And Ryan can go over that, and they're split into two categories, and he can go over what they are and how they must be used by state statute.
Yeah, good morning, Council. Ryan Ostowski, Chief Financial Officer. The taxes commonly referred to as bed taxes or hotel taxes are actually two different statutes in Florida statutes that we're levying. One is the tourist development tax, that is the tax that goes to support the Ocean Center. And then the other is the convention development tax. The convention development tax is actually specifically written into state law as 3 different levies for the 3 different advertising authorities and has to be spent on those purposes. Does that answer the question?
It does, thank you. I just want to make that clear, what we're doing here. We have a motion to approve the almost $0.5 million budget by Wheeler, second by Johnson. There's no more discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries 7-0.
Lori, Kate, before you leave, can I see you over here?
Who?
Lori and Kate. Katie? Kate? No. How? Hey, I'm sorry. Katie left.
Okay. And that brings us to item 6, the Votran service update.
Good morning, Council. Kelvin Miller, General Manager of Votran. And today we're going to present to you some update on Votran, some of the things that are going on in Votran. Today we're going to concentrate on these items here, the comprehensive operational analysis, better known as the COA, service changes updates that we had to do since January of 2022, our gold service, which is our paratransit service, and then we're going to talk about some major projects we have on hand and some of our future plans. The first thing on our list is the COA. We had a consultant come in and look at all of our fixed routes and to determine some efficiencies in our fixed route. And from that survey that was done by the consultant, the staff went out and analyzed all of the routes that they had made recommendations on. And also we established a service review committee that meets bi-weekly to go over some of our route changes and some of our service recommendations to get the efficiencies for our fixed route service. The COA only concentrated on our fixed route. It did not look at our paratransit service. We have implemented some of the recommendations that have come from the COA. One of it was to streamline some of the routes. We've actually started to look at more routes to streamline it, to make it more efficient for some of the people who use the service. We reduced some frequency on the routes. One of the big things that the COA talked about was reducing Saturday service. Saturday service, we had 30-minute service all day, and we reduced that to 60-minute service based on their recommendation. Right now, it's just a temporary solution, but we think that's one that we're probably going to do a permanent because the efficiencies of Saturday service was not there. The other thing that they recommended was mobility on demand, or MOD. And a little bit later on in our presentation, we'll talk about mobility on demand. As I said, we have a service review committee that we continue to look at some of these fixed routes to do it the most efficient that we can. We meet bi-weekly. We have a planning staff that goes through and operations staff to look at all of our routes and for efficiencies. The next slide, we want to talk about some of our temporary service changes. As you all are probably well aware, we are having staffing shortages with our fixed route and paratransit drivers. This is a nationwide thing that's going on. Everybody's having trouble finding bus drivers. And to get through some of these challenges, we have done some temporary service changes. We started in January of this year doing some service changes. We reduced about 6 routes on Saturday from 30-minute service to 60-minute service. Sunday, we had some trippers that were running, and a tripper is just an extra bus that goes behind another bus. Actually, those buses weren't carrying anyone, so those 2 routes, it was Route 1 and Route 17, we reduced those buses on those routes. In April of this year, we looked at some routes that, even though they were carrying a lot of folks, the efficiencies of them were not there. So we reduced 2 routes in April of this year to 60-minute service all day long. In May of this year, we also looked at some more routes. Through the middle part of the day, which we call the non-peak hours, was 30-minute service. We reduced those services to 60 minutes. We kept the service for early morning and late afternoon to 30 minutes so that those folks who are going to work or going to school or wherever still had 30-minute service. All of these services that we have done right now are temporary solutions, but at some point we think some of these may become permanent solutions. The reason why we did these route changes, as I said, we had to do provide some relief for our operators who are working about 6 days a week, and we actually had service staffing issues that we had to address. Otherwise, we would have had to cut service more. So these changes are temporary solutions that help us get through this trying time. It actually produced some savings in our budget. It's about a 10% reduction in expenses. And even though we had some loss in ridership, we had anticipated that the ridership would probably be about 15 to 20% loss. Look on the next slide. You'll actually see that overall, with all these changes that we had made, the highest percent in decrease has been about an 8% decrease in total ridership. So it's better than what we had expected. Some of the routes, the Route 7 and Route 10 have experienced a little bit more ridership drop. At some point, we'll have to reevaluate those routes to see what we can do to get those numbers back up to their service levels.
Mr. Chair, may I just ask which are those 2 routes? Where are they?
They're both east side on Daytona. The next slide, we'll talk about our gold service. And with our gold service, we basically have 2 types of service that we provide with gold service. One is the complimentary paratransit service, and that's what a lot of folks refer to as our ADA service. That service basically provides service for those who are with a disability who live about 3/4 of a mile from a fixed route. Those folks are the only ones that are eligible for that type of service. With that type of services, there are some issues that, because of federal laws, that we have to abide by those laws. So sometimes people say, can we prioritize trips? Can we do certain things? And we actually have to follow the law with those trips. So there are certain things that we can't do because of federal regulations. The next one is our paratransit transportation disadvantage service. And that service is open to folks who live more than 3/4 of a mile outside of the fixed route. They basically, it could be income driven, could be elderly, could be disability. Those services both of those services, people have to apply for those. It takes us about a 21-day process, although we usually get it within 21 days to apply for those positions. Our paratransit ridership from FY22 to FY21 is actually up 12% for FY22 over FY21. Unfortunately, we haven't got back to those pre-pandemic levels yet. We're about 27% down from FY19, but those riders keep coming back, and at some point we'll get back to those trip levels. With our gold service, our average daily trip right now is about 850 trips, and we accomplish that with about 48 runs. Compare that to FY19, we're doing about 1,000 trips a day, and we were doing about 69 runs. So you see there's about a 21 number of runs that have been decreased from FY19 to FY22. And so with those decrease in runs because of staffing issues, it sometimes is a challenge for us to meet all of the needs of those folks who want to use the service. Our paratransit service window, and that's when people can expect to get picked up, still remains at 60 minutes. We do have some service changes on the horizon, mobility on demand, that could help us with our gold service to meet the needs of the riding public. Yep. Wrong button. I'll turn it over to Bobby King, who will talk to you about some mobility on some major projects that we have on and some future plans.
Chair, before he takes a seat,
Yes,
can we,
go ahead, Barb.
and I know this is part of how you'll address the concern, but we had talked about the concern for the disabled and the great challenge that we're having meeting their needs, getting to work, to school, to, critical appointment. And you had mentioned that you're restricted by federal criteria, that they can't be prioritized.
That's correct.
And so I think critical time call for critical responses. And I wonder if we can't ask for exception, especially for this population, recognizing they don't have other options. So is it something that we can talk to John Booker or our lobbyist in Tallahassee to say, how do we address this need during this time that is out of the norm?
Well, we can always reach out to the Federal Transit Administration to see if they could give waivers. On the fixed route side, they actually did give waivers to reducing service for 12 months. We haven't seen anything come through on the paratransit side, but we can surely reach out to the Federal Transit Administration.
That's my question. Have we asked, and is there a reason why we shouldn't ask? Is there a downside that I'm not seeing to asking for that type of support? Like you said, this is a national issue that's happening, and I just really feel that we should be taking some greater action for that population.
One of the things that we have to keep in mind with the paratransit service, and we agree that there are some things that we should be able to do, but it is a civil rights issue. And with the Federal Transit Administration, with those civil rights issues, they are very stringent on what they will allow and what they will not allow. As I said, we can reach out to them to see if there are some things that we could do to alleviate this situation.
Thank you.
Heather, did you have a question now, or do you want to wait?
I think now's a good time, actually, since we're talking about the paratransit. So on the paratransit, we're talking about reducing routes, reducing services across the board, but
just on the fixed route side.
Okay. Well, so we've had a lot of discussion lately on the paratransit not being available. Is that due to staffing shortages, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as we had in the previous slide, we were doing about 69 runs a day to cover some of those trips. We're down to 48 now, so we lost about 21 operators just from doing those type of services.
So routes and services have been reduced?
Not so much that
maybe not routes, but services have been reduced.
Yes.
Okay. So I also know that we talked before, we've greatly reduced the budgeting, or you've greatly reduced your budget for this upcoming year. And we talked before about paratransit drivers starting at $12.54 an hour.
That's correct.
And if you're desperate to get staff and you can't get the people that want to be bus drivers, and they need CDL licenses, they need all these different things to come in, wouldn't it behoove you to not reduce your budget as much and pay your bus drivers more?
We are actually, all of our operators are governed by the collective bargaining agreement, and we actually have started negotiations this week with the union on our CBA. That I'm sure that's something that will be addressed in the CBA.
So discussions like that always fall back to, well, it's union stuff, and so we can't raise pay unless they either want it or approve it, and totally get that aside. But if you've already submitted the budget, I'm assuming that that's not a tremendous goal on our end.
It is a goal, and we have taken some of that into account. Remember, we have reduced some of our services, so with some of the reducing in services on the fixed route side, we're able to save money that we can actually put into other things.
So we are looking at working to greatly increase pay for the drivers to bring in more
Yes, ma'am.
staffing.
We are looking at that, yes.
Suzanne?
Thank you, Chairman. Just to follow up on the two questions from Councilman Bertman and Post. I've been speaking with Mr. Miller and Ms. King and others about the dilemma on the paratransit service. We're still meeting all of our calls. It's the timeliness of some of the calls that I think are reaching the level of concern to council members. I think the one other option that I haven't heard this morning spoken is to further reduce the fixed route service. In other words, change some of our headways, the frequency of our fixed routes further, so that we can transfer those human resources, drivers, into the paratransit portion of our service. And I know Votran and their staff are looking at other fixed routes that might be candidates for those shifts. It's a challenge because it is a little bit of taking service away from some of our riders to prioritize other of our riders. And frankly, I think we all are quite well aware that all of our Votran riders, whether they're on fixed or paratransit, are transportation disadvantaged.
Right.
We don't have people generally riding who don't have to, but that may be the only short-term additional solution we can offer to you in a quick manner to solve this problem. I do want to say, and Ryan and Aaron, I'll consult with them, but I'm not aware that Votran substantially reduced their budget this past year. They have been subsidized from the general fund with the remainder of their very specific ARPA dollars that came to Votran through some specific funding that reduced the burden on the county's general fund. This year, that is going away, and it's one of the fiscal challenges we're looking at next budget year. But I don't think we've asked them, nor have they cut their request for services as part of the budget proposal. The issue is one of labor, which First Transit really sits in that bargaining position. Those are their employees, not Volusia County employees. So we'll have to defer to them on their labor issues. But I did want to bring up the option of further shifting those fixed route resources. Not something we're prepared to propose to you today. Let's further reduce headways on routes X, Y, and Z. But I do expect to come back to you shortly, maybe in the next meeting, with some options that we can discuss.
Did you?
Yep. So I would just say to you, rather than, I would hope that the message would be rather than a further reduction in service to the citizens of Volusia County, although that's on your end, the staffing, we would probably be more likely to look at your budget differently if, in fact, you were providing adequate or substantial living wage to the drivers, which would then, in turn, probably help to relieve a great portion of staff issues. So just want to put that out.
Thank you. And we are looking at that. As I said, we've been in negotiation all this week with the union on our CBA.
One other question. I think this is going to come up and that you will answer it, but one of the things that we probably all hear when we go out to do a town hall or just speak with people in the public is from blind community, various handicapped people that really depend on this paratransit. And one of the things they always suggest is either Uber or Lyft. And I know we have I've discussed it with staff. There's questions about, is that even allowed since we get federal funds for this? And there's also questions about the level of service if they were to take it over, because their Uber and Lyft is not going to help a wheelchair person get in and out, store the wheelchair as readily as your service will, is my concern. Can you discuss that a little bit, and then maybe this will come up, or Suzanne can touch on things like bus sizes, and there's a lot of things that you're discussing. You're going to discuss that? Okay, we'll let her do that. But Uber and Lyft, what's your...
Uber and Lyft is and Ms. King will discuss it with mobility on demand. There are pros and cons with Uber and Lyft. Some of the disadvantages, especially on the paratransit side, is they may or may not have accessible vehicles. All of our vehicles are accessible, so if you're in a wheelchair or a walker, you can get on some of our vehicles. With Uber and Lyft, there may be accessible vehicles available. They may not be, and if there's not an accessible vehicle available, you would have to sit and wait until there is one available. They have limited number of accessible vehicles available. The other potential is insurance, as you probably know that Uber and Lyft are independent operators, and they, the county has some insurance requirements that are for our like taxi cab drivers and contractors that they have to adhere to. Some of the other things I think Ms. King will discuss on mobility on demand.
Okay, so we are discussing all those things and comparing it to what she's about to tell us right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bobby King, Community Services Operations Manager, and I just want to say that the county and Votran work very closely together on pretty much everything at Votran, especially projects, because there's a lot going on at Votran, a lot of projects going on. So sometimes it takes a village to get some things done, and mobility on demand is one of those items. So what is mobility on demand? Similar to Uber and Lyft to some extent, except that it's very specific in the type of vehicles that we want to operate. Our plan is to work with a contractor, so it's kind of a mix between public transit and commercial service that Uber and Lyft style contractors utilize. Is also a on-demand, so real-time scheduling. You can call right now and have your vehicle show up at your house, or not really at your house, but somewhere nearby your house to pick you up in a reasonable amount of time. And same thing, pick you up and bring you back home from the location that you were at. The challenge is that it's not door to door. So what we were just talking about was somebody that really needs assistance from their door to the car of the vehicle and then to the location that they're actually going to. That's not really what you're going to get with an Uber driver. So that's really not what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that can actually help with assistance to some extent. If those individuals can't be helped, then the county service would pick that up. So we would kind of mix a contractor in with our service. We would provide the services that need a special attention, and contractor could provide most of the other services that are needed. We're going to go into that in greater detail in a few minutes. But what we have found is it can be a very cost-effective solution for us. We're looking to put it into locations where we have low ridership, where we're running lots of fixed route, but yet we have low ridership on those buses. This is a better solution for those kinds of areas. It's also going to help with staffing. If we contract with somebody, then our staff is freed up to go do other things that are needed, like where we're having difficulties servicing now. Real quick, I'm going to tell you that there's some next steps that we'll go into to get this rolling. and as you know, some of these next steps can take some time. We're working very quickly to try to get to them. An RFP would be needed. We would put together the scope, the requirements that we want in the service, and then put it out for RFP and evaluate those solutions. Then develop the contract and work with a team that we hire. And then most importantly is marketing and educating the public on this service. In order for it to be successful, that's the key thing, and making sure that our public knows that we're not really taking service away from them. We're actually providing them with a better service in the long run. So we would need to focus on that dramatically. And then a pilot program would be needed first. And so I'm going to show you kind of where we are looking to do that. These slides will help you kind of understand what we're focusing on now. So west side of the county is our key focus to begin with. The map on the left is actually showing the fixed route inside of the MOD zones. And we have a blue zone, which is DeLand, and a purple zone, which is Deltona area. We are looking to take fixed route out of these locations and implement MOD, as you can see on the right, with the exception of fixed route, our main fixed route lines going north to south and east to west in Deltona initially. This will take, obviously, staff, hopefully over to the east side, and paratransit service that needs door-to-door. The thing I want to point out here is the DeLand MOD location now incorporates areas that we don't have fixed route. Some places where we would call last mile, first mile. Spring Hill area doesn't have fixed route going through their area. They can now use MOD to take it to a fixed route location and get on, for a longer ride or a different, go to a different location. So we're excited about that. Sunrail is also going to be serviced by MOD. This way we don't run a fixed route that may or may not be needed. It'll be needed on demand, or, by whoever wants it. They can call and get it, picked up on time and back and forth very easily. So our intentions are not to run a fixed route at this time to service Sunrail. And then Deltona is really our biggest bang for the buck. When you look at all the fixed routes in gray, taking away all of that, most of those are considered low ridership. And essentially, we're basically placing that with a premium service, somebody that will show up quicker. You can schedule ahead of time. It's also going to be able to pick up a lot of our paratransit riders that don't need door-to-door service. So that's 80% of our clients that don't need door-to-door service. They would actually utilize MOD in place of it. The other one thing I want to point out is the east-west Deltona route may eventually be able to be eliminated as well, and that would actually increase our savings. I'll tell you a little bit about the savings, because I think a lot of people think this would cost us a lot of money to implement because it's considered a premium service. So here's some operating information, kind of convoluted, but the first line is basically what we expect to put into place for MOD. That's 12 to 15 vehicles. These vehicles ideally would be a van of some sort, similar to our paratransit van now, that's ADA accessible, that can carry between 8 and 16 passengers, because the more you can ride share in this scenario, the less expensive it is, and the more efficient it is for us, cost effective. So essentially it costs $1.7 to $2 million to run MOD. Where are we going to find that money? The next few lines will kind of outline it for you. We're going to do away with those routes that I said we would do away fixed route in the Deltona area mostly. And that saves us almost $1 million in doing that. And then The ADA trips as well would be taken away and serviced by MOD, and that's almost $1 million, or around $1 million as well. So we're actually paying for it by taking away those other services, and to the good. I mean, we'll actually save a significant amount of money by doing this, and that's conservative, by the way. So it coincides with MOD, but what we really need to do at Votran is provide a mobile scheduling and payment option. We do not have that right now, and that would allow people to really be able to just do things on an instant. And as you can imagine, that would eliminate the need for some staffing. We do have issues in staff for scheduling as well as drivers. And so if we can eliminate some of the need for the scheduling, we can also take away some staff that count money all day at Votran. So these kinds of things are something we're pushing to get to as fast as we can. We do have a grant that we're waiting for. Really, any day we should know whether or not we have the grant money to pay for this software. If we do, we're going to implement it almost immediately. We already have a vendor that's vetted with the state that we can go right to and start working with them to get this up and running. So those are some things that are really going to help us in the future. Unfortunately, we have outdated equipment. Everybody is changing radios. We're no exception. We have onboard technology and dispatch equipment that need to be changed out. Again, very expensive equipment that needs to be replaced. But again, we have a grant that we've applied for. And so speaking of grants, kind of wanted to make you aware that anytime we're looking to do something in the future, we always have to look way ahead of time, because our grants come up and then we get the funding a year later in a lot of cases. So we're always trying to, kind of beat the clock. If a grant opportunity comes up now and we know we want to implement that sometime in the near future, we're looking to apply for that money as soon as possible. And sometimes it's not soon enough, but that's what we're always trying to do. So that's what we're looking to do now. And as soon as we get some response on those grants, we know that's where we're headed next. So some other interesting things that we've got on the horizon is alternative vehicles. The FTA is basically handing out money for electric vehicles, but it isn't quite that simple. We have to plan for it. We have to plan for the infrastructure and how are we going to service these vehicles, things like that. And we're required to kind of have a plan in place before we actually go for the money. So we're working on that now. We have planners in-house that have been working on this project nonstop since the money kind of started to become available. So that's something that you will see in the near future. Propane vehicles are kind of some things that we already have in place, but we're working to get more of those as well. Just trying to be greener and more, conscious of the environmental issues. And then because we are planning to do so much with MOD in the West Volusia area, it may be necessary to have some sort of transfer station in the Deltona Orange City area. This allows for MOD travelers to, because MOD is really most effective if you're staying in a smaller area. So if you really want to go a long way in your travels, it's best to take somebody to a fixed route location and let them finish their trip. There's also ways to set up the payment or the rates to allow for somebody to choose what they want to do. There could be a higher rate if you want to do MOD all the way, let's say, from Deltona to Sunrail. And instead of getting on a fixed route and going the rest of the way to Sunrail, you could potentially take that option, but you're going to pay a little bit more. So it's kind of it could be up to the rider to choose how they want their solution for transport, I guess is how best to say it. But if you're challenged with funds and you can ride fixed route the rest of the way, then your first mile or so or 2 miles might be on MOD, and then the rest of it could be fixed route to get to your destination. So those are some interesting things that we're looking to do in the future. Again, we have a grant put in for a feasibility study to see if we do need an intermodal station in that area. And if we do, then we'll work toward more grants to pay for design, construction, things like that. It's kind of how that plan works. That's really the end of our program. More than happy to answer a bunch of questions. It's interesting stuff.
Barbara Gertman.
Thanks, Chair. So how will the fees be established?
That's a good question.
What will that be based on?
Ideally, we'd like to keep them similar to what we have now, and that's really the goal. There's no reason to believe that it won't be. It's important to, again, start small with a small area to see how everything is operating, make sure it's running effectively before you move into a bigger area and take fixed route out of the whole area. We'll start small, make sure that it's running properly, move into another area, then move into other areas, maybe on the east side as well.
And you anticipate the initial pilot to be what area?
The land.
The land.
Mm-hmm. It's a smaller area, and it's a place where we think we could gain ridership because of areas that haven't been serviced before by fixed route, and even the Lake Helen area is now incorporated into this whole MO section. So we think that if we start small, we'll go to big, which is the west Deltona area next.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wait. So we're talking a lot about the MOD, but we're again discussing reducing services and shifting things around. And I'm hearing that we're lacking, or we're desperately needing schedulers as well. And when we pull up schedulers also need a CDL, and they're making $13.20 an hour. So just want to again stress that a great way to try and increase staff in those areas would be to be providing them a livable wage. It is not doing that is greatly affecting the service that we're providing. So wanted to state that again.
I know, and I'm sure Calvin can say more about the negotiations, but the contract does have some language in there about CDLs that they're going to try to work with the group to eliminate or change so that it will help us be able to gain drivers easily. But it is still a union negotiation situation.
I'll just say you can't eat a CDL and you can't live in a CDL. So thank you.
Just a couple other quick questions. I think I missed, you touched on Sunrail and you said we would not have fixed service there, but I missed how we were going to.
We're going to use MOD.
Okay.
So it's if you're a rider of Sunrail and you need to be there in the morning, you'll call and we'll pick you, or the service will pick you up and take you. Otherwise, you would have to get to a fixed route line. If we had traditional fixed route for Sunrail, you'd have to get to the fixed route line and take it to Sunrail back. So this is actually a premium service.
How about the people that ride Sunrail into Volusia? How do they get
We'll still
from Old
continue
New
to
York
have
to?
Same thing. They can schedule a MOD.
When they get there, or will they know? How are they going to know? When I get there,
They should know ahead of time. I mean, the way we envision should be about a 30-minute window for service. So if you call and you need a pickup, you'll have it within 30 minutes, ideally.
Mr. Chair, we just started to sort of brainstorm the question you asked. How will riders on Sunrail coming to either DeBerry or DeLand know once we've transferred into MOD? And I think materials on the Sunrail cars themselves, as well as at stations along the Sunrail route north of us, will be a important way to let riders know if you're on the train, you can order on your cell phone while you're riding, and hopefully it'll be there when you arrive in your destination in Volusia County. That's the hope. A lot more discussion to come.
wow. Yeah. For the $10 million it will cost us on Sunrail, we could really improve Votran and get all the drivers that you needed. That's a bit concerning, but Any other questions? No? No vote needed on that, but it will require further discussion. Next, you have been sitting here all day waiting for item 7, agreement with GEL LLC. Ben Bartlett.
Good morning, actually afternoon, Mr. Chair, council members. Before you is a
1 minute
agenda item for out of our solid waste facilities, the trash grinding and hauling. Basically, this involves the reduction of our yard trash, which is vegetative waste. We get about 118,000 tons a year that we process. We estimate $1.6 million annual expenditure. This is a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals. We use the recycled mulch as cover mixed with dirt, and we had 4 responsive bidders, and GEL was the lowest bidder, and we recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Johnson, and which one of the 3 of you want to take the? Heather seconds. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. There you go. Okay, item 8 has been pulled for now to be rescheduled at a future meeting. Interesting. Item 9. Funding options for widening of Williamson Boulevard from Beville Road to Madeline Avenue. Tad.
Good morning. Tad Casbeer, County Engineer. We discussed at the last meeting some different options, or given direction to discuss investigate options for funding Williamson Avenue, or Boulevard. The stretch from Beville down to Madeline is 2 lanes. It had been discussed previously and approved by the council on a 4-lane that particular section. There were some requests to set a schedule for that, and to do so, we really need to fund the entire project. We've noted at the meeting before, there are approximately 5 of the $7.5 million already allocated between ARPA funds and proportionate fair share on nearby projects. So we really have a $2.5 million shortfall that can be made up. Based on the money that we have already allocated, that left about $3.3 million of impact fees that are not allocated for this particular zone to be used. Proportionate fair share, there was a total of $2.1 million that have not been allocated. That said, only $1.1 million of that is actually in hand. The portion is still pending. We also have local option gas tax that could be used on this. We have approximately $4 million that has not been allocated. We'd like to leave that for last as a last choice, simply because we can use that anywhere in the county. We'd really prefer to use either proportionate fair share or impact fees, because those are required to be spent in this particular zone. When looking at the money, we made the recommendation to use $2 million of the outstanding amount from impact fees, and the other $500,000 would come out of proportionate fair share. As we discussed last time, we have certain other projects in the corridor that we know nearby are going to be constructed or planned for development, and as those proportionate fair share agreements are worked out, we would potentially replace, so to speak, the impact fee money with those proportionate fair share.
Billy Wheeler.
Yeah, is this needing a motion? Is that where we're heading with this, George? Because I would like to recommend.
Yes, I think it would be helpful.
Recommend the county staff recommendation of the $2 million of impact fees and $500,000 of proportionate fair share funding be initially allocated from the unallocated funds to make up the outstanding balance. That is my motion.
Motion to approve your recommendation by Wheeler, second by Lowry. Any questions? I have one. Can we, I don't see in here, it said item pending. Can you provide us a budget, a list of all the numbers that you just gave us?
Sure.
Just make sure that we each get one. I would like to have, so that it's really clear what we're voting on. Any other questions or discussion? We have a motion by Wheeler, second by Lowry to approve your recommendation. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 10, Michael Dyer, direction on public decorum ordinance. Russ Brown.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Russ Brown, Senior Assistant County Attorney. I'll be facilitating your discussion this morning or this afternoon regarding videos or no videos for public comments. So we are bringing this back at the direction of council from the last meeting regarding a recommended change to the ordinance. If you recall, you passed your public decorum ordinance back in September. At that time, the video was related to whether people were here or not in attendance, because people were bringing in videos with multiple people that weren't at the meeting. And at the time, the council in that, the council in that September ordinance decided to make sure everybody was here, play your video, but you still need to be present. That's still in the ordinance. Going to the next slide. So talked about that, where you could substitute the video in place of a participant speaking, and that was how the ordinance was changed to still allow that, but you had to be present. But the ordinance, as we're aware, doesn't expressly address all situations as it relates to the video. And so that's what the direction at last council meeting was, to bring this back. Here's a current copy of your ordinance and how it applies. I just talked about that you have to be present in order to play your video, but you can play your video, and it should just include you, the length, those types of things. So here's the proposed draft language if you decide today to keep videos as allowed in public comments. The ordinance would be changed to add a section 7 for the use of any electronic media in public participation. It says a public participant desiring to show a video, picture, or use any other electronic media during the public comment shall provide the electronic media to the deputy clerk no later than 24 hours via email or other electronic means before the start of any public meeting, so that the program and media device providing the electronic media may be scanned for viruses. Public participants shall also provide a copy of all electronic media in a format archivable by the deputy clerk for insertion into the record of the meeting. Alternatively, a public participant may bring a printout of materials desired to be utilized on a projector screen during the comment period. Participants must also provide a copy of all materials shown on a projector screen to the deputy clerk for insertion into the record of the meeting. This will also keep it easier for Carissa to make sure the record is clear and complete. And so if we make that change, we're recommending one other change to that previous section 2-663 that says, in lieu of speaking, you can still do this, so that part will still apply. And then we also inserted not only video, but also applies to auto recording must be provided to the deputy. So that's if you decide to keep video and public ordinance in your public comment period. Again, this is just for direction today, so we're going to bring it back to you for approval. Now, there's another option that you can choose to not allow video during public comment. That's entirely within your purview. If you do that, we would change your ordinance accordingly, bring that back to you for approval as well, and go from there. So that's really all I have, and just looking for council direction on how you want to proceed. So the two options, video or no video, and then say yes to the video. If you're good with draft language, we'll bring that back to an ordinance. If you don't want the video, we'll change that, do the draft language, and bring that for approval as well.
Barb Gartman.
Thank you, Chair. I think last time I shared my concern that if there is a video and there's audio, the audio needs to be the public that's speaking, the person that's here and the person that's speaking, not you're bringing a video of someone else's comment on any level, whether it's, you know, in individuals or CNN or other. If they're bringing a video that's demonstrating or showing, you know, their land or something of that nature. So I think it's about the video and the audio. The difference to me. So if it's supportive documentation for your public comment and there is not audio, I'm fine with it as long as it's something appropriate and related. And I thought initially that's what we had said, that it needed to be your comment and not you bringing in some other audio comments. But I think it's only fair to be able to show and demonstrate, you know, whatever they need to support their cause. But I also think it's important for that information to come to Carissa as soon as possible, and like you said, the 24 hours. So I would definitely support that.
Can you put back up there the language that you're proposing? Does that change his language?
It would.
You just
It would a little bit, yes.
Okay, what would that change be?
Go ahead.
We would insert to make clear that, as Ms. Gerben said, that any video or audio comment media provided would be applicable to the speaker's issue before the council. So it wouldn't, I'd come up with some wording, for lack of better, like a hypothetical, it wouldn't be some generic newscast that comes in that has nothing to do in a matter before the council, or that person's individual issue county related before the council. That's what I take. Is that correct, Ms. Gertman? Did I summarize it correctly?
What I'm hearing is that they would not, I think that the language proposals are really the opposite of each other, because the first two are trying to work within still allowing folks during your general public input at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting, to use some audio or video, but you're setting some restrictions. What I hear Ms. Gertman saying is changing the rules for the general public participation to not allow for the video or audio.
And I'm not being clear.
No, but they would be here to speak.
I'm saying that if there is a video shown, that it has to, number one, not have audio, right? Unless it's that person who's presenting. That's number one. Number two is they can show a video, but that video needs to be supporting the public comment that they're providing, such as, you know, a property concern that they have, and they're showing us a video that they filmed of their property, or, you know, and whatever that issue is. I can't list the many things it could be, but showing a video that if there is an audio, is that person speaking. Other than that, there is no audio. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. That's, the person needs to be present.
Right, because it's their public comment.
Yeah, 100%.
It's their public comment, and that's what needs to be represented. But I don't want to take away the right for them to show us a video of a supportive concern that, again, addresses what they're representing to us.
But I just want to make sure I understand your point. I think I do, but if they bring a video that pertains to their point, there can't be any audio on the video.
It's the audio of themselves explaining what they're presenting to us. They're walking around their yard and they're saying, and here's the sinkhole, right? Other than that, to me, they shouldn't be able to show, and the scientist says, you know, this is how a sinkhole starts, and you're showing some other individual in your public comment.
So you wouldn't allow that supporting?
I would
that?
not.
Okay. I would just wanted to make sure I understand your point. I would disagree with that if it pertains to the subject, to what their point is, and they are here and vocalizing that as well. I don't mind if somebody plays a video from CNN or Channel 9 or Channel 2 to support their point. But this is new territory with technology now, so we do need to work it out. And not arguing with you, Barb. I think
No,
I have a little different
It's not an argument, it's
perspective.
my perspective.
Um,
Because I think, again, people bring a lot of things that are unrelated to what we actually have authority over. And to me, it's just not appropriate to pull something out of the air and you're playing it and it has no relation to anything we could respond.
That's true. That's a question.
We got to draw the line somewhere.
I would give them the right to be able to express their First Amendment right. But Ben Johnson, you were up next.
Yeah, we got to draw the line somewhere. If you remember, we had a first party bring in a second party video narrated by a third party, interviewing fourth parties. And this is somewhere we need to get this stopped. I agree with Ms. Gertman. If the people want to come in, it's like when they want to talk on their tape recorder, it's them talking. It's the same thing on this. If they want to talk on the video, it's them talking. You know, we've got to draw the line somewhere here to kind of keep the decorum in line. And I agree with what Ms. Gertman is saying, that and a lot of times we do get sidetracked with things that we have no authority over any way, shape, or form. But I agree with Ms. Gertman.
Okay, the other question I wanted to understand is that we've had speakers come in that record their own message, sometimes in their voice, sometimes I think it's computer-generated voice, have it on their phone and play it. I actually like it because it keeps it to 3 minutes, and for people are scared to speak in public, so it allows those people to make their point. Are they sorry, I'll finish my question. I think you said that an audio like that would have to be provided 24 hours in advance?
No.
No, because they're playing it they're playing it as a comment, so we can record that as
Okay.
part of the public meeting. It's more the audios that are part of the clip that they want to play, like a JPEG, like a format, something they want to, a snippet that's not their pre-recorded comments. It's more of, it doesn't have the video, it's just the audio of some snippet.
We're just talking about items where they're giving it to us, like Carissa, to play on our equipment. I think
that's the distinction.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I don't have a motion or a second yet. We'll need a motion for this language with the amendment that or the addition or change that Barb is mentioning.
I make that motion to have them bring back renewed language.
And just so I understand it, Ms. Gertman, that no audio or video unless it's that person presenting and the video supports the public comment that's related to the county, the matter before the county. Is that accurate?
I think it's related to what that person is presenting in their public comment. I don't want to get into, as Chair said, they have a First Amendment right to speak about whatever they choose. So I'm not going to dictate what they speak about. It just needs to be related
to what they're talking.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. So what we're going to vote on, we have a motion by you, Vice Chair Gertman, second by Lowry. Is Russ bringing back the language? So we're not voting on the language today. He's going to bring it back, and we'll discuss it then.
Yes, sir.
Carissa's dying to say something.
So I don't want to, so I think Chris is asking about some specifics. I think, you know, if they come in and they have, if it's a matter in front of the council that they want to speak about and they have a video of somebody else in their video, but they're the ones voicing it over, I think Chris is asking those types of specifics. You know, would that be allowed? I think she wants to know from her own practical standpoint. Things come in, and she can get with us, and we can figure those things. I don't know if it's something for y'all to figure out
You'd
today.
have to make that
I
clear
just
in
wanted
the
to put on the
language.
record that's what we were talking about. So she was asking more specifics. So nothing for y'all. We'll deal with those.
Okay, I don't see any other comments. All in favor of us handing this right back to you so you can
Yes, sir.
make these changes and then bring it back to us for a final vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We've got 3 quick items. We might as well plow through. Item 11, sponsorship request.
Mr. Brower, can you clarify who the second was on that vote?
The second was, yes, second was Lowry. Vice Chair Gertman made the motion.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Kevin Captain, Community Information Director. Item number 11 is a sponsorship request from the Central Florida Pregnancy Center. It's for their annual benefit dinner on Friday, September 11th. This is the first time that this organization has been asked for the county to sponsor their event. The monies donated will provide free services to their clients, which include free pregnancy tests, STI testing, ultrasounds, and parenting classes. There is no individual cost for this event.
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Lowry. Is there a second? Second by Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. You get all that? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 12 is also another sponsorship request. This is for the Arc of Volusia for their 5th annual charity golf tournament on Saturday, September the 10th. This is, again, also the first time that the county is being asked to sponsor an event through this organization, and the event is in the amount of $1,500. The individual ticket cost for this particular event is $125, and the donations will be used for client programming and supplies for individuals with intellectual and developmental disability, enabling them to learn life skills and community integration.
Motion to approve by Gertman, second by Lowry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and that brings us to item 13, community events.
Item 13, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the community events update. So to first start off, just like to remind everybody that the second impact fee workshop will be conducted tomorrow night in the TCK training rooms here in DeLand. That's at 6 p.m. And we also have the Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune Statuary Fund Bronze Statue Unveiling. And that's going to be Thursday this week, the 18th. It's at 9 a.m. at Riverfront Park in Daytona Beach. And I believe District 2 County Council member Billy Wheeler will be one of the featured speakers. And I think, Mr. Chair, you're attending as well. So anybody else interested in going, it should be a great event. Also, I'd like to just mention that the Chuck Lennon hiking trail ribbon cutting is Saturday the 27th, and this is in De Leon Springs. It'll be at 9:30 a.m. And also just want to mention we are in the process of putting together, or I should say bringing back the Citizens Academy. It was on hiatus for a while through the pandemic. Human Resources, Dana Page Pender and Cindy Finney and Tammy King and a whole host of members of the HR team are working with Community Information to kind of get this program going. So we have some tentative dates. We have it here. I will tell you that it's in light graphite at this point, but we hope at the next meeting to be able to tell you that it's in ink. And it's looking at September the 22nd, thereabouts, and it'll run about 12 weeks. And our long-term goal with Citizens Academy is to eventually make it a little bit more of a hybrid so that participants, students, can watch some of the didactic portions from home and then come in and do field trips. So we're excited about that. That's a long-term goal. We've started with some videography with it, and we've got one in the can so far. So it's going to be a great transition.
Yeah. If I could just ask you, so this one would not be virtual, have any virtual capabilities?
Well, this one will have, yes, it will have a virtual attendance component for people to be able to go through the go-to platform. I think we're going to actually use Microsoft Teams because we moved to Outlook and Microsoft Office 365. So they can sit in the comfort of their home, watch the presentation through Microsoft Teams, and then still come in physically to do the field trips. Okay. So this is going to be a transition to more of a virtual platform.
Okay.
What I mean on the video part is that will be more actual videos, bona fide videos that we'll have for respective divisions, and that'll be over the long haul.
Yeah, I remember when I first was elected, and they had done this. It was one of the things I've been pushing for years, but everyone from the class, that last class, was in attendance, I think, and everyone was so excited about what they learned and how much they didn't know and how they wanted to give back to the community and get involved because of going through this. So I think it's really important that they understand and these people have an opportunity to really look and see how we run. And it's a heck of a lot different than what they hear out there. It was wonderful participation and wonderful comments, favorable comments from everyone that attended.
It's the truth, and our first video that we are working with is Jonathan Edwards, our internal auditor, and I think you'll be very pleased.
Barbara Gertman.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's really important to make sure that you maintain a good portion of when they come together, right? And that it's not just when you do the field and the trips, because for these similar academies that I've attended, it's about developing those relationships too. So I think it's really important that it be a good hybrid, that they still come into a classroom setting like at least a quarter of the time to get information and to share, because I think I'm always concerned that when we bring too much video and too much virtual in, you really aren't connecting in the same way. And a lot of what we're doing is about the relationship. It's about the information, but it's also about the relationships that you create along the way. So I don't want to lose that.
Thank you, Ms. Gertman. We'll have I think the plan overall is to have an option if people want to come in, they'll be able to use the training rooms and have that physical connection, but then have also the option to be able to see it virtually from home. But I couldn't agree with you more. We do miss out on a lot unless you have physical presence. Good thing about bringing it back this way is we're going to do some trials and see what works, and we want to make sure that we don't make a hard and fast rule, which is, again, even when it comes to the dates, why we want to maintain a little flexibility and malleability with it to make sure it's a success. Yeah, I attended DeBerry's academy that they did. The room was full. People showed up. People were excited about, being part of that process. So I would just be cautious about how much virtual and disconnect we put in there, because if you've been on Zoom, you're not getting the same value from the lack of connectivity. So I think information's great, but I also think the personal connection is really important. Thank you.
County Manager George Rechtenwald.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, we definitely understand and agree with that. The idea was also making sure we could reach a broader audience because people's time is limited, and I think where we're trying to get to is there was a certain amount of PowerPoint presentation that I would see that people would start to wander off, and it took a lot of their time So the idea here is to maximize their time in the field, so we can get to these places. There'll definitely be presentations and stuff as they go to these places, but before they were traditionally half a day or so in a classroom and then a half a day out in the field. I'd like to get it so they could spend 3/4 of the day maybe in the field, get more covered, and maybe have done a little bit of work online ahead of time to enhance that experience, but not become a total classroom experience. And again, what we were finding was we were very popular with people who were retired, but it was hard for people to dedicate that many days during the week when they were still working. Now, things have changed over time, and I think there's even more flexible scheduling out there. So we'll definitely look at that. I agree. Actually, we just had this conversation that I still wanted to make sure that they saw as much as they could and that they were together to comment on that. I used to gather a lot riding on the bus from one location to another as we took people to see things, and that was a good time to have good casual conversation about what they had just seen or what they were about to see as well.
And Dana Page Pender is excited about being the public speaker for most of the sessions.
Tongue in cheek.
I'd also just like to mention too, Community Information is working on the last final episode that will air on WDSC TV for Volusia Magazine. It'll be a 30-minute segment. What we've been doing is going back to many of the previous hosts and programmers and talent. And I think you'll be very pleased with the final show in September. And with that finality of that 30-minute show, it's not complete end of Volusia Magazine. Perhaps the name, but again, you're going to begin to see, as you are already seeing, many shorter whimsical videos on social media, because we do feel that that is an important way to get our information out. But for September, we brought back many people from many years ago. Tom Huser, Dave Byron, lots of others that you'll be able to see. And we're capturing a lot of very important history of Volusia County through the Volusia Magazine show. So exciting things to come on that last show. Oh, and thank you, Ms. Gertman. And Chuck Lennon Park, August the 27th. I think I sped through that fast. Any other questions?
Doesn't look like it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that brings us to public participation. John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, Daytona Beach side. A couple of things. One, on item 9, you saw that picture. You saw on half of it, all that green, undeveloped land. It's already spoken for. It's already gone to the City Commission of Daytona Beach. There's 3/4 of it will be housing. The very bottom, there will be development. There is a tiny little square that has not been defined yet, but it will be commercial. So I know you're building the road now, but it'll be actually almost too late by the time you finish it, because the development will already be there. So think about all the development that's coming in and put the roads in first, and then let the development come in. Secondly, it lost somewhere the internet sales. I know that Florida was going to tax the internet sales. Has it been done? And if so, is it in the general fund somewhere so we can find out exactly how much? Because I know the city of Daytona Beach loses like 95% of their sales tax, so they only get 5% out of 100. What is the county's portion of the sales tax, and how much are we gaining by that? Exit signs. I did it. For 20 years, I've been walking out that door. And now you can't walk out that door. I'm wondering whether you could put 2 signs on the columns, so when people get up out of their chairs and walk to the back, it says exit only with an arrow, so they don't walk all the way to the door and then have to turn around and come back. Because that's what happened to me today when when I'm coming across 92. There was an accident, And instead of putting a sign where you get onto I-4, because the only way across, once you get halfway through, is to turn around and go back. So rather than avoid that, just put a few signs, and I think it would stop that. Hobboard, it's absolutely true. I was in a shop one time, and two ladies asked them, where do I go for an Italian restaurant? And she lived in Ormond, and she goes, no, Daytona Beach doesn't have any good restaurants. And I'm like, yeah, we do. 2 blocks from you is an Italian restaurant that's really good, and 3 blocks the other way on Seabreeze is Anna's, which is very good. She had no clue. So years ago, I asked Bud Asher. We had just chased out the spring breakers. He said, oh, there's so much to do for families. Okay, Bud, name them. Beach, the theater, and he stopped. I could name 25, and he could name 2. But most people, when you put them on the spot, what do we have? And they don't really know. So that's a truism. And lastly, I'd like to make some recommendations. People have come before you. Who's running, who's not running, whether the Democrats or Republican. Danny, obviously, if you don't get 90%, I'll be really pissed. Barb, I hear you're running. You better. Jake Johansson, I'm recommending. Victor Ramos, I'm recommending. Mike McLean and Matt Reinhardt. I think you need good quality people, regardless of party. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public participation. Have closing remarks from the county manager.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of things. Unfortunate, first one's a little sad, but if you'll recall, we had Jim Harrison here from Lynx and the previous meeting, and it was sad to hear that he passed away suddenly this past weekend, not this one, but the weekend before. So he'll be missed. I will say I've followed his career. I've known him through public works and other engineering. He worked his way up through that and do a lot of the major projects in the Orlando area. Had his fingers on them. So he will be missed, and makes things, I think, even more interesting for our future too. Second, this is I just want to give a shout out to Tim Riddle and his staff. They had an unfortunate incident this last week where someone was having some sort of a heart issue, and they leapt into action and got the AED device out, and Tim really showed a lot of leadership and got the thing onto the person, and they reacted in a way that I think is taught. And then lastly, our Director of Purchasing, Pam Wilski, their agency has earned the 2022 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award. And we're just one of 171 agencies in the U.S. And if you think about it, there's literally thousands of agencies. So we're one of 171 that's got this Achievement of Excellence. And appreciate all their hard work and how we maintain a process to be fair with everybody out as we procure our services and goods. That's it.
County Attorney.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Lowry.
Just real quick, I just want to brag on the animal control people. Took one of my shepherds out to get spayed, and some other things came up along the way during that surgery. Dr. Goldstein out there is just tremendous. She did a tremendous job, and I had a chance to get a tour of the place. Adam Leith took me through there. They're doing a tremendous job, and he's doing a tremendous job, and I just wanted to brag on them. And it was interesting because a few days later, after I took care of all that, I went in the backyard, and there was an osprey. Something was wrong, my German Shepherds usually don't play well with others, but for some reason they sensed there was an issue and they were like guardians. And so we were able to rescue the Osprey, and it's being rehabbed now, and I'm looking forward to them coming back out and releasing it. So it was a big day, a big month for me with Animal Services, but they're doing a tremendous job. Just wanted to brag on them.
Heather Post.
Yes, I have a couple things. Is Clay here? No. Okay. Clay. So I'm asking about the construction, but I'm not actually asking about the situation itself. But for members of the public, we've had someone complaining or remarking about construction going on 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m., 7, and when it came down to it, after much discussion back and forth with county staff, with you, Clay, basically it came down to that specifically does not fall under our 7 a.m. rule, where they can't do stuff before 7 a.m. So what I'm wondering, and I'm asking members of council, is as a resident of Volusia County, if I'm in my home, I don't want to be hearing things going on at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. And I think that 7 a.m. is reasonable. And apparently others before us thought it was reasonable because that is the time marker that has been put on for lots of other issues, for residential, commercial, all of that. But specifically in this case, it didn't fall under that. So what I'm wondering is if we could bring it back to council to work on, or even give direction to change that to 7 a.m. across the board, to where if you're within a certain area near neighborhoods, that's much more reasonable.
Clay Urban, Director of Growth and Resource Management. In Chapter 50 of our Code of Ordinances, specifically 50-476 D3, there's an exception for construction activity to that table that Ms. Post is talking about. If it's the council's direction that construction activity be limited to that table, what you would ask us to do is strike that exemption for construction activity.
And for the evening time, it was 11 p.m. Am I right? So it was 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. You could actually operate and do these different things, but just not at 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m.
I am aware of concerns from the construction industry because of the scheduling of concrete pours is getting more and more difficult. And so therefore what I know of other cities are doing is that they do have this very strict 7 o'clock, but they do allow for exceptions if they notify the adjacent property owners and there's no objection. So we can work on language that perhaps the exception is repealed, but we put in specific language that allows for on demand or as needed, subject to certain conditions.
So I think something like that would be reasonable, but not a free-for-all. And I see Tad back there looking like that might be a good idea. So if you could bring that back to us, is council good at bringing that back to us? Am I hearing any no's?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so therefore direction is for staff to modify that section of the code to look at what can be done to ensure construction activity is uniformly prohibited before 7 o'clock, but allow for certain occasions due to timing of necessary improvement along those lines. And we'll bring that back so y'all can review that.
Just so it's no basis. Yep. Okay. We had, I noticed in the sponsorship, we had Arc of Volusia come across. We've had the Halifax Council for the Blind come in and have some discussions. I wondered if we can actually have Arc of Volusia and Easter Seals maybe come and talk to us about some of the programs that are available within the county for disabled citizens, so that we can push that information out into the public. And then, so very excited. I wasn't able to attend because of my injuries, unfortunately, but got an invitation to the White House. It's not the first invitation I've had to the White House, but got an invitation to the White House on the Honoring Our Pact legislation, which is the veterans legislation for healthcare and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic exposures. And many of you know, as chair of the National Association of Counties Veterans and Military Services Committee for 2 years, and then chair or vice chair for a year after that. Time ending, by the way, in July. So just ending. But as chair and vice chair of that committee, I worked with many organizations across the U.S. and thousands, actually, of county commissioners across the U.S. on this toxic burn pit legislation, and I'm super excited that it was just recently passed. And I do want to go back just a minute and talk about it took till 2019 for the Blue Waters Act to be passed, which was providing for Agent Orange healthcare for Agent Orange exposure from the Vietnam War. And so that's decades and decades and decades for us to take care of those Vietnam vets with the Agent Orange exposure. And we have quite a few veterans, lots of veterans actually in our county that are dealing with burn blisters, brain tumors, all kinds of stuff from toxic burn pit exposure. And this legislation, I think, is going to be tremendously helpful across the U.S., but certainly very helpful as well in our county. So I can't tell you how excited I am to see that pass, and look forward to our Veterans Division pushing out that information and getting the people in Volusia County help on that end. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Danny Robbins. Billy Wheeler. Barbara Kerman.
Oh, I think I'm good.
Ben Johnson. Okay, I've got a couple items. First, George, I wouldn't do this without going through you, just because this is, I believe, standard procedure. But I would ask for you to set up a meeting with me, with somebody from Public Works, I don't care who it is, to take a little field trip to the beach to discuss beach approaches, how they're graded, with some members of the public that have reached out to me. I did get a brief update this morning from Director Etheridge, but they don't have that at their, so it's just a conversation with the public about what's happening there. And I can provide you those names too, if
Sure, that would be
you would
helpful.
just set that up.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll set that up.
All right, thanks. Second, as everybody knows from the last meeting, and Mike, I'll ask you this, there was a FOIA request on me. Who was that made by?
Yeah, it was a public records request from Councilmember Robin.
Okay. It's lengthy. There's a lot of material there. Was Councilmember Robbins charged for that material?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that. I don't process the record request. I'd have to defer to community information on that.
Okay. Can you find out? 'Cause I know a member of the public, if they requested, they are charged for the time that's required.
One thing I know that at least up to this point, the past practice has been, occasionally we will get records requests from council members. Council members have not been charged.
Okay. Because they're acting in their capacity as a council member?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. Secondly, to that point, since it has been made so political that you have sent each council member a link, it's very lengthy. Unless you find some legal objection, I would like to place that link so that the entire batch of information is available to the public. I would like to place that on my county chair Facebook page. Is there any issues with that?
It's not that I'm aware of, it's all public record.
Okay. All right, and then lastly, toilet to tap has came up this morning. I want to take just a little bit of time to let the public know where this is coming from. It's coming from the public. Mike Springer, WFTV, on which is Channel 9, December 8, 2021, did a on-site report on it, and this is his very brief written report. It says Daytona Beach is working with the state to explore whether it can take water from the toilet to the tap. The city's pilot program examining the process wrapped in October. Deputy Utilities Director Eric Smith said it is an option cities are exploring as there is a need to find alternative water sources to accommodate the 1,000 people moving to Florida each day. Smith said the information gleaned from the Daytona Beach study could help the state establish standards for the process. This facility was able to meet the primary and secondary drinking water standards, he said. The process starts with water coming from the system as part of the filtration process. Next, the treated water goes through reverse osmosis before it is tested to see if it meets drinking water standards. During the process, Smith said the water never leaves the facility or enters the city's drinking supply. He emphasized that at this time, there are no plans for the city to use treated wastewater in the drinking supply. The city will take what it learned over the last 2 years and compile a report to help the state decide next steps, and that is happening now. Second one is very brief. Again, Mike Springer, July 11th, 2018. The city of Daytona Beach is part of a new pilot program to experiment with turning treated wastewater into drinking water. The city is working with Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the St. Johns River Water Management District on the project. The city has built a treatment facility for the 2-year pilot project, but the water isn't currently part of the city's drinking supply. The state said no reclaimed water is being used as drinking water in Florida. The project aims to explore the feasibility of creating an alternative drinking supply to offset future demand. That leads me to the Florida Senate Bill 64, which is why this is happening. And it is a bill, I'll just briefly read one sentence of it, providing that potable, let me back up. The DEP has specified date, by a specified date, a plan for eliminating non-beneficial surface water discharge within a specified time frame, requiring domestic wastewater utilities applying for permits for new or expanded surface water discharges to prepare a specified plan for eliminating non-beneficial discharge, that's good, as part of its permit application, providing that potable reuse is an alternative water supply and that projects related to such reuse are eligible for alternative water supply funding, requiring counties, municipalities, and special districts to authorize gray water technologies under certain circumstances and to provide certain incentives for the implementation of such technology. Yesterday, we all received a very detailed analysis from Attorney Sorio. And thank you. Is he here? He's here. Thank you for, he's not here?
He is. He assured me that it's a cure for insomnia as well.
Okay. Just a couple highlights so that everybody knows what's going on. This is what the state is requiring. And there's a lot of information he's going through. So some of this may still be his opinion, but he's a lawyer and a really good one. So some of it's just very clear. But it says state law appears to preempt local governments from prohibiting potable water reuse in many areas. State law provides that the use of potable reuse water may not be excluded from regional water supply planning. It appears that the county could prohibit black water technology within its utility service area, but could not do so outside its service area. And this is important. Potable water reuse is the augmentation of a drinking water supply with advanced treated water from a municipal wastewater system. Typical domestic wastewater sewer systems do not differentiate between types of domestic wastewater. That means gray and black water. Both types, once treated, are considered reclaimed water for use as alternative water supplies. Potable reuse treats the domestic wastewater, regardless of its source, to a certain level to be used as a water source to be introduced into a public water supply, treatment, and distribution facility to meet potable standards. So I have to ask myself, what does that mean we can do? And he writes, under current law, manage those resources in a manner to ensure their sustainability. Reclaimed waters shall be considered environmentally acceptable and not a threat to public health and safety. That's from the Florida statute section 403.064. Then he goes on to discuss, and this is lengthy, I'm not going to read it all, but to discuss the intricacies of protecting the public from this if they chose to be, because of the differences between gray water supply and black water supply. We don't differentiate that here. When the water drains from your shower, that's gray water, goes into the same pipe as when you flush the toilet. And that's the case all over Volusia County. Florida Department of Environmental Protection to initiate rulemaking based on the recommendations of the Potable Reuse Commission 2020 report. As of the date of this memorandum, rulemaking is still ongoing. Crucially, the legislature in that bill stated that reclaimed water is deemed a water source for public water supply systems. There's a lot more, but he finally goes on, and I don't mean that by finally you got to it. I mean, this is a very detailed report. I asked the county attorneys to investigate this for me and investigate whether or not we in fact are able to do a charter amendment to let not us 7 people decide, but the public vote on whether or not they want gray water, black water, reclaimed, and for the possibility of entering into our water supply. So he lists requirements for doing that. If I understand you correctly, on your last page, next to the last page and last page, there seems to be the possibility that the county could offer a charter amendment for non-incorporated Volusia County only, and not for the cities. The cities would have to do that on their own, and you can tell us as you walk up if the cities could in fact do that.
Generally, yes, and it's tied to service area. So the county service area, we don't have a very large service area, so your ability to regulate potable reuse is limited to your service area plus the unincorporated area. Service area does include a few cities which we serve, but that's kind of the limits of what you can regulate. Sorry, Paulo Soria, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Additionally, our reading of the new bill limits what you can regulate in terms of potable reuse. So, you made the differentiation between gray water and black water. I think we do have the ability via a charter amendment or just through a regular ordinance to regulate black water within our own utility service area. And the cities could independently do that as well. I do not think it arises to a charter amendment that forces other utilities to prohibit that type of, using that type of source. That's what it means when it says you cannot be excluded from being considered as part of the regional water supply, but each utility can independently prohibit it. The only other preemption is specifically we must authorize and allow incentives for gray water technology, and that's basically, it requires an actual development to separate the pipes and only receive water from your lavatories, your showers, and your laundries, and exclude your kitchen waste, your kitchen sink waste, and your toilets and urinals. So that's an entire thing. We are preempted from prohibiting that even within our own utility area. So essentially, to boil it down, we do have some regulatory authority over black water within our utility service area, within the unincorporated areas. Same for the cities.
How,
And Paulo, just to clarify on that case, when we say our service area, we have some unincorporated areas that are served by cities. We're not speaking about that. We're talking about the areas in the unincorporated area within our utility service area.
So, mainly think about service area rather than incorporated versus unincorporated, because you're dealing with utility service areas, and those can cross jurisdictional boundaries.
you mentioned it could be done by ordinance or county charter?
Yes.
Charter amendment?
Yes.
An ordinance could be changed by the next council?
Yes.
Charter amendment could be changed, but it's much more difficult.
It's a referendum. Any charter amendment needs to go through the process outlined by statute. Ultimately, any amendments need to be by referendum of the electors.
Okay. Which brings me to my final point. Ben, did you want to say something before I close this out?
Yeah, for one thing, I want it to be known, I don't want any part of sewer to tap. But by the same token, I think before we act, it might be a very good idea to invite the St. John's Water Management District in here to talk to us and let us know their feelings long-term and where it may stand or what necessarily may happen. And once again, I'm not for pull it to tap, but I still think that we have to look at the very long-term, and I really believe that St. John's Water Management District should come in and give us a presentation on this issue so that we're more educated on it so we can make a better decision.
Okay, thank you. I would not object to that. It's been talked about in the legislature for a number of years, and now they have come up with this legislation that would preempt us from acting in some cases. So my opinion is that we're behind the eight ball. What I would like to have this morning is someone to make a motion for the council to direct staff to begin the process that Attorney Sorio lists out here on the final page of creating a resolution of council approving the language, 30-day notices. There's a whole bunch of things that have to be done. Referendum vote, all leading to a referendum vote in favor of government of general election on November 8th, 2022, certification of results to Department of State. St. John's Water Management District, whoever could be part of that process and should be. But we are way behind on this issue, and there is concern in the community for whether or not this continues to go forward. And that would allow Stacy Cantu's constituents to vote on it instead of me, her, or anybody else. I think it would be dereliction of duty to forget this issue and act as if it doesn't exist. It not only exists, but the state is marching us to a requirement to do this. So I don't know if anybody's willing. I would like for a motion from the council to direct staff to begin the process of steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 that Paulo Soria lists in his email to us so that we can have the information to know if we want to go forward with this.
Mr. Bauer, I'd say we're not behind because there's absolutely no plans anywhere in the works
There
to
are.
do that. No, there's not, Jeff.
I just read the
Not
state-
here in
I
Volusia
just
County.
read the
There's no
state law.
plans. There's no plans on this at all right now. So it's not like this is any more than just it's a political issue right now for it to be on November. It can wait till next year. It's not needed at this time. Let's get the information first. St. John's can't, you say, you know, we're moving, we're not going to be listening to what St. John's may say if we already put this in motion or voting on it. So I fully believe that we need to get all the information, and it may be very viable. It may be very, very viable, but I want all the information before I act on it.
Well, and so do I. But to say that it's not going to happen is just the state. I just read the state law that they are going to require that. They see that as the way to provide for the 1,000 people a day moving in Florida. I think we ought to try a lot of other things before we do toilet to tap. It does say that water is a limiting factor to how Volusia County can grow, and we need to deal with it. The state, Daytona Beach, did this project to provide information to the state of Florida, which now has all of the information that they did, that they accumulated over this 2-year period. And now we're waiting for the state, could happen tomorrow, to come back and tell us what they want us to do. And if they come back and say, we're preempting you, they are, and our answer is that we want you to implement this into your water supply. It's perfectly safe. You know, I've heard that for decades, that the water that we're dumping into the Indian River Lagoon from wastewater treatment plants are perfectly safe. They're at low limits. Well, we see the results of that. So, Heather Post.
Actually, so I was just going to bring up what you were talking about. I'm more concerned currently about what is allowed by law to be dumped into the rivers by each municipality and by county, whoever wants to. It's allowed by law to be for a certain amount of that reclaimed water and I call it dirty water, but the dirty water to be dispersed into our waterways, and that's currently legal. I know I certainly wouldn't want to drink it or even go down that path. Certainly not before we fixed what's currently legal and what we're allowing to happen into the river. So what I'm hearing from Ben is there's no plan to do this, but yet you're requesting St. John's Water Management to come in because you don't want, and I'm just writing down exactly what I heard, you don't want to limit our future options. So to me, that sounds a whole lot like that could be one of the future options that people are looking at, and we don't want to negate that. So that's really the opposite. You said two things in one sentence. So is it in our future or is it not in our future? And it's really looking like, from what the legislature is looking at, that it's in our future. And I think it's in our future because we're allowing a lot of stuff to happen and not really thinking about the future. We're putting a lot of stuff in place, and you know, this might be our only option 20 years from now. I would much prefer it not be the option at all and us start looking at other stuff. I would move to bring this back just to get them more information. I'd love to hear from St. John's Water Management. And I don't want to get into a an argument with the city of Daytona or anyone in the district, certainly, but I will say, if it was not ever a matter of viability, then why on earth would the city of Daytona have spent millions of dollars to do testing on it? Not even getting into the weeds, that doesn't even make any sense. So it's obviously something that the state is looking at, and I think we need to look at heading it off in our area for the future of our citizens, for sure. So I made the motion.
So your motion is for the staff to bring back information on the viability?
Well, just what you asked for.
Okay. Well, what I asked for was a motion to bring back information on the charter amendment.
The charter amendment, correct.
Do we have a motion by Heather Post? Is there a second? Okay.
And again, that's not approving a charter amendment, that's bringing back information so that we can really have all the options. I think part of that discussion of bringing it back with the charter amendment would be certainly to hear from St. John's Water Management and any other invested parties, which, by the way, doesn't need to be dragged out over 12 months. All of those people could speak to us in one meeting.
Here's what the state Senate bill says, that when discussing SB 64, stated that reused water would be cleaned and available as drinking water around the year 2032. So it's in the plan. It's in our future. And it's because of the rapid expansion of growth in our county and the state. And I want to be prepared and let every resident of Volusia County to be able to have a say in this. I kind of prefer this, that what Paulo has brought us, that we can only do it for unincorporated Volusia County, because I don't like the loss of local control, but that's exactly what's happened here. The state is trying to take away our local control to say whether or not we can do this. We still have a narrow window of opportunity. I think we need to walk through it, and then the cities can do whatever they choose to do and respond to their immediate voters. So I would really love to see a motion and a vote to give this to staff to bring us back the information that we need to be able to proceed with this. If you deem that it's necessary in that vote, this is information that we're requesting right now. Motion by Post. Is there a second? Okay. The motion does not carry for lack of a second, and
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So Ben, were you making a motion, or were you asking that staff bring back St. John's Water Management just so that we could clarify and
Yeah, I'd like to hear
them?
from St. John's Water Management District about what the future holds and what may have to be done, yes.
So is that direction? I'm just. So aside from that motion, then that's direction. If we're all in agreement.
Well, that's entirely up to council. I mean, obviously, we'll do as directed.
Okay, let's hear from Vice Chair Gartman first, and then we'll finish that out. Barbara?
So, in another 120 days, we're going to have a new council that's going to have to look at these issues. And there are 6 of us up for election. In January, there's going to be a new board. They're the ones who need to hear from St. John's. They're going to be the ones who are going to need to hear how this goes forward. I don't think this is an issue for this board at this time.
I agree with you. I agree with that because we will not be the ones voting, so I agree with that, Ms. Gertman.
And yet the train has left the station, according to the state. Okay. Let's, we have an executive session for collective bargaining, just so the public knows, as we'll do it as a lunch. Since it is an executive session for collective bargaining, it's not open to the public. I don't know, Michael, if you want to say anything else about that or if that's sufficient.
That is sufficient, thank you.
We have lunch in the back. I don't know if you prefer to take it downstairs.
Yeah, I think that we have separate stuff downstairs for you guys. That up there is for the staff, because remember, most of them cannot be in the executive session, so this is just for those that are here.
Thank you. And all right, we are adjourned at 1:14 from this part of the meeting. Sorry, I thought it was behind me.